the big man in the middle, a 6'2 senior, making his first ever podcast appearance, Stormin' Norman. What's up, my guy Norm? How we doing, brother?
That was an excellent intro. I couldn't have asked for anything more.
I forgot to add in there the best corner three-point shooter that the state of Ohio has ever seen. I got a little nervous, though, and kind of forgot.
I would argue that's a little bit of misinformation. I think it's more wing threes that would, that would fit me a little bit better than the corner threes. But, I'll accept what I get.
How many viewers in here do you think that have actually seen you hit a three before? Or the amount of people that are going to listen to this?
We're counting 2, 3, maybe?
2 or 3? You think we're going to get that many that have seen old Storm and Norman ball a little bit?
I highly doubt it.
I mean, I've been putting the propaganda out there on Twitter, so they should at least know about you.
They've heard the name, they don't know the game,
Yeah. Don't worry, I've been hyping you and Ty Pranger up. I don't know. Get a 3-point competition someday. We'll have to see who the real best 3-point shooter is.
I was gonna say, I think he's the guy who probably has the corner threes, to be honest.
He loves just sitting there camping in the corner doing a whole lot of nothing else. But hey, he can hit the corner three, and that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, some would call it laziness. He would call it efficiency.
Were you ever lazy playing basketball?
I feel like I didn't even try that, but I walked into that. But what was it? The basking.
Oh yeah, whenever our entire basketball team had food poisoning.
Besides one, you forgot one. Sweets did not eat the chicken Alfredo, so we had one healthy man.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, Norm and I went to high school together and played some b-ball way back in the day. And before our first tournament game of our senior year, we had a team meal the night before, and literally like 12 of the 15 guys on our team came down with food poisoning. And basically the next day, we were all texting each other all throughout the night that we were up all night puking our brains out and shit. Our principal was also our head basketball coach, was calling us all in the morning, texting us all in the morning, making sure that we were there in time to be able to play that night. And we get there, and he's got Pedialyte on deck, just Pedialyte after Pedialyte after Pedialyte, basically choke this shit down. Whatever you got to do, you got to drink it and hold it down. Because, we were fucked. And, yeah, we were sick as fuck, ended up going out there winning the game. But the funny part was Norm had 6 or 7 threes or whatever it was that game. And after the game, we were just joking, all of us as friends, just that was fucking terrible. I don't ever want to do that again. That was horrible. And Norm goes, yeah, well, I think I shot the ball pretty well tonight because I usually have a little hitch or something in my shot, and I was a little more lazy tonight, so I just didn't have that hitch, and they were just going in. It was pretty fucking funny. I don't know, Norm, if those were your exact words, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was also just mental laziness as well. There was no overthinking. It was just shoot the ball. More went in than didn't, and it worked out.
You only missed 1, maybe 2.
Yeah,
if you even missed one. I don't recall any misses, but for you to go 6 for 6 or 7 for 7 would be pretty insane.
Yeah, no, I definitely missed one. I remember that the reporter or whatever after the game was hey.
Ooh, so you even got interviewed and everything after the game. God damn.
Yeah, or something like that. And I was the hoop looked good tonight or something. And then he said yeah, and Layfeld or whatever boy said that he, the hoop looked like an ocean or some shit. And I'm not a direct quote, definitely didn't say that, but get your typing off, big guy. But But yeah, I mean, he hyped me up and said I won 100%. I don't think that was true, but I think I did miss one, maybe two, but a lot of makes.
80 to 90% from the 3-point area is not bad at all.
You'll take it.
So how's your week been going? You been having a good week?
I can't complain. Actually, right before this, we were packing. I know Metal's on vacation this week. That'll be me next week. So me and the wife were putting the baby packing together since that's been new as well. So we got a newborn plus. So we're packing for 3 now. A little more challenging than just throwing shit in a bag.
Where are you going?
So this is the.
I mean, you don't have to answer every single question I ask. If I ask something that's a little too personal, you can literally tell me to shut the fuck up. I'm not gonna care.
Well, you're gonna more so laugh at my answer because I don't really know. I know it's Virginia in a national park. I don't know anything else but that. Yeah, I'm not really worried about any of the South Carolina dudes pulling up on me down there. So, yeah, no, I honestly just don't know 100%. I'm along for the ride.
Just make fun of their head coach, and then you'll just claim that like you think he's a horrible dad and like a piece of shit father and doesn't care about his daughter and all this shit. That's if you don't say anything about him, then you should be okay. Because they're a bunch of fucking idiots down there that don't even know what the college football playoff is, and that was my point. And they said, "Oh yeah, look at this guy trying to make it seem like he doesn't like a father supporting his daughter." Like, yep, those were my exact words.
Well, I will say, I don't even think this was on the agenda, but a hot take is, I think the Gamecocks might be heading there this year. But we can keep that on the DL.
Last episode, I said the same exact thing because we were sitting here talking about how they haven't been relevant forever. I think back in like 10, 11, and 12, 2010, 2011, 2012, I think they won like 11 games each of those seasons because I was basically like, you guys haven't been fucking relevant ever, and if you have been, it hasn't been during the playoff era. And frankly, that's all like you kind of compare anything to at this point. Like you had like the BCS era, and now like the playoff era. And I was basically saying like they haven't been relevant at all. And so we looked up their schedule, and I think I gave them like at least 9 wins. So I was like, with Sellers coming back, with having like a pretty favorable schedule, actually, I mean, I'm sure there will be some team in the SEC that's better than what we think today. But I was like, I think that they have a really good shot at getting in.
Yeah, I think they're a team people are obviously aware of. Like, I think the thing where people started actually looking at, like South Carolina, it took way too long probably, but I think the win against Clemson at the end of the year, like people are like, oh shit, like South Carolina is real. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they bring back pretty much all their main skill position players, a lot of guys on defense, and they've been recruiting pretty well too. So yeah. I think they'll be an interesting team to watch at least, and probably bet on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. College football definitely brings some bets. But the one thing I'll say about South Carolina is if you're like a good team and you have your quarterback coming back, that's usually like a staple for you being a pretty damn good team. Like you think about like them, like Clemson's in there. Florida's got their quarterback coming back. But if you look at all the other major players in the country, like the 2 in the national title game, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas is replacing their quarterback. I know that they have Arch coming in, but still, Arch hasn't played against anybody. We don't know how he's going to respond against good teams. Penn State has theirs coming back. Like Bama's replacing, Tennessee's replacing. I mean, you just keep going down the list. Like a lot of like your blue whatever the fucking word is for it. Your blue bloods. Like a lot of those teams are replacing a quarterback, and they're one of the few that isn't. And I think that means a lot, especially in college.
Yeah, and like it's interesting. I was looking at just like a big board for next year because I know we were talking about Caleb Downs a little bit, and like it is the time of year where all these quarterbacks are rated super high, and all the quarterbacks are getting talked about. But on this particular site, there's 5 quarterbacks in the top 8, and none of them are Drew Aller. So I think
For
it's
a
very
mock draft,
interesting.
you're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's just their big board. They have like mocked picks on
So
the
basically
side.
just like ranking the prospects.
Exactly. So which I mean, they have to be grading quarterbacks on a different scale because I mean, like an interesting guy. I feel like Cade Klubnik. Like I remember hating him staunchly very recently.
2 years ago, he was
Probably
fucking terrible.
yes. And then even beginning of last year, I feel like he left a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like as the year went on, like you could tell he was progressing, and it's like, well, he was this, I think 5-star, highly touted dude. Like, I mean, he's gonna be good. I don't know. I think Clemson's kind of the team everybody probably should be looking at, just in terms of guys returning. Because I mean, we were talking about South Carolina. As I'm looking at this big board, Clemson has 3 of the top 10.
Yeah, Clemson's going to be good. Clemson's going to be really good this year. And Klubnik, like you said, I think towards the end of the year, he really started to come into his own. And he was a legitimate, like one of the better quarterbacks in college football. And I remember going into the year, especially that Georgia game, like week 1, I was like, don't fucking bet on Clemson. Klubnik is fucking ass. He is god-awful. Like, I'm not betting on a single game that he is a quarterback of. He gave me a lot of, who was the dude? Graham Mertz vibes. Like, he was a very, like, intriguing, like, had some good moments, had some bad moments, but it was like, avoid him like the plague. Do not put your money on any team that he is a quarterback of. That's how Klubnik was 2 years ago. That's how he was at the beginning of last year, and I think it was probably until about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way into the year where I was like, all right, I think I can trust some money with this guy. He's not making any of the stupid decisions that he's made in the past, and like Dabo always has and Clemson always has, they're always going to have a good defense. So you knew that they were at least going to be in most games. But no, I think going into this year, Clemson's going to be the truth. I think they have a legitimate shot of going all the way. And, I mean, you have a head coach. Say what you want about him. He's kind of gone downhill the past 5, 6, 7 years. But you have a championship DNA coach who's been there, lived it, kind of knows what he's doing in those situations. So I'm pretty high on Clemson going into this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they don't make the playoff, like, I mean, I don't think Sweeney is getting fired, but I think there might actually be real heat because, I mean, if we're looking at like projections of what a team is, where they're at, the conference they play in, like all those factors, Clemson should be a virtual lock for the playoff. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I can't imagine them not making the playoff with, the ACC. I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm super familiar with the ACC, but, I mean, I just, I'll just use my recency bias on that to know that there ain't much there. Florida State seems to be dead a year after they seem to be, back. And then, as you go down the list, like
Miami is probably the only other threat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like we're talking about teams who lost their quarterbacks. It's like, I mean, Cam Ward was a transfer, so it's not like it's impossible. But I mean,
at least like Carson Beck has experience. 2 years, he was kind of like a little bit similar to Klubnik. They just flipped years. Like 2 years ago, Carson Beck was really good. Last year, Beck was not good at all. So you don't really know what to expect from him, but at least you've seen him play good football at one point in his career. But I'll go as far to say I will fucking chug a beer out of my ass if Clemson doesn't make the playoff. I said the same thing about Ellie hitting his stolen bases for this year. I don't think he's on pace to hit it, which isn't good. But I said the same thing about that. But I will say the same thing about Clemson. Like, there's no shot that they don't make the playoff. No way.
I mean, something catastrophic would have to happen. Which I guess, I mean, the Clemson-South Carolina game is like every year, right?
Yeah, I mean, that could be one loss for them. They might.
It's not even a. it's not a conference game even. So it's like, so I mean, they would just get on, like them not winning the ACC just seems like insane. But I mean,
So
it's happened before.
Okay. This is actually kind of interesting. I got their schedule pulled up right here. So they open with LSU. That's not going to be easy, but I think Clemson wins that game though. I don't know where it's at. It just says versus LSU, so it's either at a neutral site or it's
week one. It's got to be neutral.
I would assume with that level of matchup, it's probably neutral.
Yeah, well, I mean, and as we're talking about 5 quarterbacks in the top 8, that's this. Their listings 1 and 2 is Klubnik and Nussmeier.
Yeah, Nussmeier is really good too. He was another one I was trying to think of that has their guy coming back. So Clemson, they open up with LSU. We'll call that a half a win. Troy, that's a win. Georgia Tech, that's a win. Syracuse, that's a win. At North Carolina, that's a win. At Boston College, that's a win. SMU, win. Duke, win. Florida State, win. At Louisville, that could be an interesting one, but I think that they'll win.
Was home too?
Yeah, SMU was home.
Okay, yeah.
And then they play Furman the week before they play South Carolina for the last game of the season. And they play at South Carolina, which isn't going to be easy. But I see 2 losses at most on that schedule, and 10 wins is getting you in the playoff every single time.
And, well, I think even the bigger thing is that the losses that look like the 2 biggest losses on their schedule are out of conference. So
yeah.
Take care of business. It doesn't matter if they lose the 2 games. It's kind of like last year. Like,
I mean, Jesus, their toughest ACC game is probably at Louisville.
I mean, it has to be because it's Louisville or SMU. I would say is just.
And I don't even think I think SMU is dog shit.
Yeah,
I don't think they're good.
They're a confusing team, I think, because it's like SMU is the type of team that dominates the teams that they're more talented than, but when like the talent's equal to against them, then they just get exposed.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm again not that familiar with the ACC, but I would feel like I would be hearing more noise about SMU if they made moves like that they're actually challenging Clemson or Miami or Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think moral of the story is I think Clemson is definitely going to make the playoff. I think they have the ability, the quarterback. They have an experienced head coach. They have most of their team back. As you were just talking about that big board, they obviously have a lot of talent back. So I think when you try to name like 4 or 5 of the top teams in college football who could win it this year, I think that they're definitely in that conversation. If they're not in that conversation, they're 100% right on the outside of it. So we'll see.
Yeah,
it's a prove it year for Dabo. Yeah, for sure. But it's a prove it year for Dabo. I think he's got some job security, but like you said, if he doesn't make the playoff, shit could go south real quick there. I think their fans are kind of ready to like, okay, let's get some shit going again. I don't think they're like national championship or bust, but like let's get into the postseason and do some shit again. Like they got spoiled there for a few years stretch, and I think they're just ready for it again.
Well, also, I think it's just like once the noise starts, like that's when it's hard to stop. Like I feel like the noise right now isn't coming from within. Like it's not really coming from Clemson fans themselves. It's coming from the outside. But once the noise is coming from the inside, then that's when shit gets real. But I mean, again, like I don't think either of us are very concerned. I think if they make the playoff and let's say they end in the semifinal or whatever, I would almost guarantee that Dabo's getting an extension soon. Like,
oh yeah,
it's that much of a like. I feel like teetering, like it's teetering at that level. Like, if it goes south, like if we're we're in December and we're talking about Clemson missing the playoff, going 8-4, losing to Miami, or I guess they don't play Miami, but losing at Louisville and maybe losing against SMU and then both SEC games, like that talk begins, and I think it gets interesting, but like I said, don't foresee that happening based on, just the sheer number of dudes they have.
But Dabo can always Dabo.
That's right.
Might set up for a pretty cool ACC championship game between them and Miami, which that'd be pretty cool to watch. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes as we get into it. But Norm, on to our next topic of the night. I know this one is near and dear to your heart. So anybody who doesn't know Norm, he's a big, big, big Bronny guy. Loves the dude. Swears up and down that if LeBron James was not his father, he would have gone to the draft. He would have been drafted. So before you get on your soapbox, Norm, and you start saying the things that you want to say, I want to set this up for conversation. So Bronny going into the draft, which I was surprised he was even this tall. I thought he was more like 6'1", 6'2", but he's listed at 6'3", 210 pounds, which he's not like small, not big. Like he's kind of in that like not
tweener area.
Yeah, he's a tweener essentially. He averaged 4.8 points per game as a freshman at USC, 2.8 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists, 36.6% field goal percentage, and less than half of the game of minutes played per game at 19.3. So I know that you're probably going to go and bring all these advanced analytics or whatever that you have in your back pocket. My argument has always been he had a cardiac arrest, and I want to say he probably missed 10 games or close to a third of the season that year. A guy at that size with those stats playing as little as what he did, he's not even going to the draft, is my argument. And I know you're probably going to say, well, they can always go to the draft, go to the combine, essentially get some feedback from scouts, and then ultimately determine if they're going to proceed to go to the draft or if they're going to come back to college. And I know there's a lot of guys that do that, but I just think that if LeBron James is not his father, and not to mention his father's team was the one that took him, and I also understand it was a second-round pick, which is seemingly is like the 50th fucking round of the MLB draft. I don't think that kid ever goes to the draft. That's where I stand, and I'm sure you got a lot of information to back up why you think that he was warranted for the pick that he was taken.
Yeah. So, it's funny because normally I'm like the big numbers guy. But I think some narratives actually make sense when it becomes like the Bronny James argument. Like the hard issue, I think, is the best argument against what I'm about to say, to be honest, because I think like at the end of the day, the reason he's not playing a lot of minutes, or the reason he's not, being a huge focal point in the USC offense is because you just had a cardiac arrest in the offseason where
very true.
You got back up to speed late. So I think a lot of those things make sense in the argument against Bronny because, it's a serious issue. But I think the thing is in terms of the NBA draft, a lot of times it becomes a potential overproduction draft. And I think a lot of times, especially in the second round, especially late second round, we go back to who we thought this guy could be, or what we project he could potentially be. So I think that's when it comes back to a lot of the measurables that Bronny has, which aren't his height, which obviously he's like 6'3" or whatever, and that is in shoes. That I'm pretty sure his like combine height was like 6'1" and a half or some shit like that, which doesn't include shoes, which doesn't make sense for a sport they play in shoes.
And 6'1", yeah, right. They don't play barefoot. That's dumb as fuck the way it is. 6'1" is tiny though. That is tiny for the NBA. Now, if you're talking baseball or football, that's normal, like not an issue at all. Basketball, that is like tiny. Like Steph Curry, I think is like 6'4", and he's a baby out there.
Yep. I think two measurables are big in the counter against his like height argument, and the one is just his vertical. His vertical was 40.5 inches, which in his draft was tied for sixth. In the draft this previous year, it would have been tied for third. So that's a very athletic. And then we're talking about like a big thing that gets overlooked with Bronny because his dad has the most points ever. Is he's a really good defender. He has a 6'7" wingspan. So for a guy who's 6'1", his arms are long as fuck. So he has kind of the the counter to being a short player.
Yeah.
And I think the kind of circle around is like going back to the potential versus production conversation is like Jonathan Givani. He's a big draft analyst, works for ESPN now. Like just seeing how he would talk about him before the cardiac issue happened. And, maybe this is kind of another thing that's like, well, it's, LeBron's son. He's going to get hyped up a little bit more, things like that. But like the year prior, he's saying things like projected lottery pick, projected top 10 pick.
When he was in high school yet?
Yeah. Well, you know how it goes. Like the guy's like a senior in high school. He's highly recruited. He shows some tools, and they're like,
so
we're going to crown the freshman.
Yeah. So he's making these comments in Bronny's senior year at Sierra Canyon. I think that's where he went, right?
Yep. And so one of them I remembered was like it was controversial at the time too. Was Bronny James went to the McDonald's All-American game. I think they generally have the top 25 to 30 guys. I think Bronny, I got it right here. What was he? I think he was like 32. Nope, he was 28 nationally. So he's kind of on the fringe of making the McDonald's All-American game. He does. Obviously, there was a lot of the nepotism talk that happened there, which, all of that's fair. But he, played well in it. I understand it's an all-star game, so it doesn't really matter. But I think it kind of goes to another thing where I think Bronny started to become draftable other than just his dad. Like his combine was excellent. Just like his athletic scores, his wingspan. And then the thing that, people thought was bad, his shot, which I understand, it's 25 shots you take in the combine, but it's kind of a high stakes situation because,
yeah, it's kind of a show up or shut up type of situation.
Right. It's the most pressure you're going to be able to have on a guy in an empty gym. And Ronnie, he was second in 3-pointers made. He went 19 for 25. And I think another thing that doesn't get talked about at all with the whole Bronny James argument in general is last year's draft was one of the weakest drafts the NBA has seen in probably 10 years. So a lot of the there wasn't a lot in because I mean the speculation about Bronny, no one knew where he would be drafted because the draft was so poor. So that's why I think the real argument is Bronny plays for the Lakers because of his dad. I think he gets drafted somewhere else if he isn't LeBron's son, because I think there's a decent chance he goes higher than what he did with the things about, potential overproduction, just the assumption. I think the health clearing, because I mean, I would say at this point we have the hindsight with, his G League and, how he's played well there. Not really probably quite an NBA player yet. But again, late second round. So G Leaguer is kind of where you are. But I think a little bit of that conversation goes to where could he have gone? And then everyone's like, well, he had the meeting with the Suns. It was a fake workout type thing. He was, the Suns are trying to acquire LeBron, so they're working out his son. So I think he kind of gets both ends of it because of his dad being LeBron. I think the real thing is he got drafted to the Lakers because his dad's LeBron.
Yeah.
And I think there's a decent chance he goes somewhere. And because the thing is as much as, LeBron James' son is a part of it, the nepotism is just that's kind of sports. Like there is an element of like, well, that guy has a brother or a cousin or his dad played in the league, that they're like, they understand how it works. So there's more belief in that person being able to figure it out on the next level. So, I mean, I just think that's a part of it as well, that it's like, yes, it definitely plays a role. But I think it comes with like the dad being able to lead you to what you need to expect going into the league versus you guys have to draft Bronny because he's my son. Like that, I feel like people make it sound like it was some ultimatum, and I think it's more so, I don't think the Lakers were mad at all to take Bronny, and I think they probably weren't too upset at being able to draft him at 56 because, I mean, at the end of the day, you keep LeBron happy and you get his son who, could be, which
could turn into something
I've
eventually.
Predicted. Right. And again, I don't think Bronny James is going to be, I don't think he's probably ever going to be an all-star. I don't think he probably is a guy who's going to be a even 15 points a game guy in the actual league. But I think I think Bronny's a big, you look at teams like the Thunder and you look at who are some huge contributors on guys on the Thunder this year. You have guys like Alex Caruso. You have guys like Cason Wallace. You have guys like Lou Dort. None of those guys, huge size guys, all great defenders, quick, strong. And I think those are a lot of the attributes that Bronny kind of falls into. So I think a part of it's more so he was an interesting prospect, but everyone wanted to talk about him for the wrong reasons. Yeah. He's an interesting prospect the same way, a guy gets drafted 46 and they're calling him the next KD because he's from Brazil and he's 7 foot and makes threes. Like the intrigue is the same, but for different, but it's different reasons why he's being talked about. He's being talked about because he's LeBron's son. When in reality, I think you put up the combine he did, and I think proving a clean bill of health through all of that, I think put him back on the radar. Because especially when, reputable guys in years, like Gavani, like I was saying, are saying things like, projected top 10, projected lottery, things like that. Obviously, those expectations fall very short when the guy's averaging 5, 2.5, and 2 or whatever. Yeah. But I think that's what goes back to the heart issue and him not being very meshed in with the team and not being very assertive. Like I had something written down here that he had double-digit attempts in 2 games in the 20-plus he played, and he averaged 4.5 a game. So, he's not really being assertive when, this is a guy who was the 28th national rated basketball player. And a part of that, I think, is USC's team. Because if you, go back, the 2 best players on USC were Boogie Ellis, who was a senior, I think maybe fifth-year senior, who averaged 16 points. And the other was Isaiah Collier, who is now playing for the Jazz. So, two very ball-dominant guards. So I think a lot of those things are things that people don't necessarily want to talk about because the preference would be to, I will readily admit I'm a LeBron guy as well. And I think clowning LeBron has become very fun for people. So I think this is just fresh meat for the LeBron hate scavengers to be like, yep, LeBron does it again. But yeah, that's the Bronny soapbox. I
will say I have to give you props because for an argument that sounds very obvious on the surface, where yes, it's so easy to say that that Bronny was only drafted before LeBron. You actually do bring up some really, really good points. And I think one thing that really caught my attention was as you're talking about this, it could be the one thing that LeBron is his father and that, yes, he's going to get him. But in the opposite side, like, we all saw what happened to Shedeur Sanders during the NFL draft. Like, just because your dad is this great athlete and, like, let's face it, LeBron and Dion, like, they create a lot of headlines. I mean, Dion goes about it a little bit more than LeBron does, I think, but they both like the attention. They both attract the attention, and they're more than willing to give you their attention. So I think that definitely has the possibility of playing a negative on Bronny as he's going through these draft processes, because a lot of people are like, yeah, he only got taken because he's LeBron's son. And I can definitely see in a world where, especially after seeing the situation with Shedeur, where a lot of these teams, like, they don't want that media attention. They don't want that bullshit to deal with, like, on a night in, night out basis of when's Bronny playing, yada yada this, yada yada that. And I think LA is kind of built for just continuous dramatic headlines. So, like, they're just used to that type of shit. So for them, it was nothing out of the ordinary. But for a lot of other teams, that's a lot.
Exactly. And I mean, I think like when you look back, like when you look at like teams that showed any real interest in Bronny, like the Suns, they worked him out. The Suns had, KD, they had Booker. Like, I think when you have some bigger, for lack of a better word, aura guys to kind of soak up the Bronny of it all, like, those are the teams that are like, I mean, we're very willing. But at the same note, I would say there was probably 20 teams that were never going to draft Bronny ever.
Right.
But the thing is I will say, like, for the Shedeur Bronny comparison, like, the NFL definitely is more more about protecting the league and the organization than like the NBA. They're going to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more player centric, just because there's less players, so the players have more power, and they get paid more money, so they got more say. So I mean, yeah. I think all those are like fair counterpoints, but I think it's just like, you look at the teams that were kind of sniffing around, like I think Milwaukee was one of them, and Minnesota. So it's like teams that had like a megastar already, where they aren't worried about having Bronny, they aren't worried about Bronny taking over the show. It's like, yeah, well, we still got Ant, or we still got Giannis.
You're not going to ask him to come in and be a star like you said. I think that he is forever going to be a role player, like a Caruso type player, like you said. I think that I've seen him play. Like, I don't think he's ready now. I don't think he's ready this year. He might not be ready in the year after that. But if he keeps improving, I think that there is a role for him to play. And he's always going to be kind of that Alex Caruso on a team. He's always going to be just those type of players that it just seems like that they find themselves on really good championship caliber teams, because there is a role, there is a fit, and there is a need for each one of those teams. And I agree with you. I don't think he's ever going to become an all-star, but I think he has the ability to have a successful career in the NBA. And like I said, I have to give you credit, because in an argument that seems so obvious and so dumb as fuck, honestly, like on the surface of it, like, you actually have legitimate points and back it up with, like, when you have a conversation about it or you debate about it, it's like, okay, like, yeah, you have a point. Yeah, you got a point there. So I think this is a pretty good transitioning topic to our next point, because it does involve LeBron a little bit as well. So, Norm, I'm not sure if you saw this on Twitter this week. People were going fucking insane. So I'm going to read it for the people that are just driving and listening, or that can't see their screen. So this account tweeted, "Ruthless killers like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady wanted to beat everyone they competed against. Overrated LeBron James wants to play with everyone else and take shortcuts to easy rings. Such a cowardly fraud." So Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, the goal everything God Savior himself, quoted this tweet and put the 100 emoji. I think this tweet was up for maybe an hour or two, until Jeremiah ultimately deleted it and took it down. My opinion is somebody was like, I don't think he meant it as much as like, fuck LeBron. I think he meant it more so as the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, Tom Brady. As in, like, those guys being killers and winners and do everything they could to compete against the best, win, yada, 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 everything that you hear about them. I do not think this was more so tailored towards LeBron, but I do think somebody inside Jeremiah's circle was like, hey, Jeremiah, that tweet you just put out, it looks pretty bad for a guy who gives our school and the team that you play for a lot of attention, and he gives us some money, too. So...
Yep.
You should probably take that down, and I really think that was ultimately why Jeremiah took this down. I don't think it really had anything to do with LeBron, but I think that's why he took it down. But in regards to the tweet, I don't really disagree with the tweet at all. I don't think LeBron James is that level of a competitor as the four other guys that are listed here above. Now, is LeBron James a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant? Metal, you got into this. Abso-fucking-lutely. You're a moron. LeBron's a much better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan, I'll let people have the debate on that. That's a very warranted debate. We're not going to get into it because we'd be here for another fucking 2 hours talking about it.
I was gonna say,
but
we're gonna do the MJ LeBron.
No, people will turn this off in fucking.
As old as time.
People will turn this off in 2 minutes. We're not doing that tonight. But Metal tried arguing with me a couple weeks ago that Kobe was better than LeBron, and I told him he was a fucking idiot. Anyways, I kind of agree with the tweet. Like, I think that those four are your high-level competitors that you think about whenever you think of the best athletes in the world. And I do think LeBron, like, that is an area that he has kind of been like pushed at in a way, his career. That he's not always like that, I'm going to try to win at every cost. I think whenever he's in between the lines, like, yes, obviously, he wants to win as much as the next guy. But I think it's more so when it comes down to, not that LeBron's not a competitor, I just think that those other four have an extra gear that LeBron doesn't have.
I think I have to say this because I'm again, big LeBron guy and very biased. I personally think he's in the category of those guys, and one game I think epitomizes it. So LeBron goes finals first year, gets swept by the Spurs. One of the dynasties and arguably sports, to be honest. Gets swept, goes to Miami. As a Miami fan myself, enjoyed that plenty, but people don't remember year one. They remember year one. They lose to the Mavericks. JJ Barea beating up LeBron, and they lose to the Mavericks. Year two is the point that I think a lot of people forget. They win the finals, beating the Thunder, I believe, that year. But the moment that I think epitomizes LeBron with those guys is Game 6. Heat are down 3-2. They go to Boston. And pretty much LeBron's legacy is on the line. And again, I think you did kind of say it with like between the lines and whatnot. Like, I think this is where it's like, well, this is where it kind of goes outside of that to being in that conversation with those guys, because like he knows like the king, what king? Like all of that type of stuff in that conversation, like the fire, it's already started. You lost, you joined your buddies in Miami and you lost one finals against a Mavs team that you're more talented than. And now you're not even going to make it to the finals in year 2, not even go 7 games. So it's like,
yeah,
I think that Game 6, I don't remember the stats off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was like 38, 10, and like 8. And this is in the, less 3-point shots era, the less shots era, to be honest.
A little bit different brand of ball than what's played today.
And he just completely took over. And I see a lot of like things now of like his old teammates talk about it, like like Mike Miller and Shane Battier and guys like that were just like, dude, like there was just something different. Like it was like almost like an eerie feeling about like before the game of like this dude's just gonna like kill, and he did. They dominate Game 7 as well. They go on to win the finals, obviously. Like I think, again, I'm a LeBron backer, but I think a lot of the things with LeBron are more so like LeBron definitely did things for LeBron, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think the hate of LeBron obviously begins when he leaves Cleveland. But
Yeah.
like like when the legacy talk is happening, and we know LeBron listens to the legacy thing. Like I think
Oh.
that's the
Oh
argument for
yeah.
those guys against LeBron. Honestly, is
He
like
cares a lot about the
those dudes,
legacy talk too.
right? Like I think that's the thing that's different. Like I think LeBron is very aware of the legacy talk when I think a lot of those guys didn't give a fuck about the legacy talk. Like I think that's the thing people are trying to say, but then they're just like LeBron isn't a competitor. I'm like I think he's a competitor. I think he just is very aware and is very online and knows where his legacy sits, if that makes sense. Like I think he's very aware of his legacy versus those guys when they were playing. And so I think that's like, he's like, well, am I going to win a championship in Cleveland? Like they were going nowhere. So he's like, well, this is the area where we can have 3 max dudes signed and then have all these old vets come in for minimums. And, we get the Chris Bosh, D Wade, LeBron James gang together. But like, I think every move he's made has had reasoning in its own right. Like, then you go back to Cleveland. I think to go back to Cleveland is like, again, it's about legacy again. Like I need to get
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland one. Like I haven't finished my job there. Like I feel like a lot of people describe it as LeBron takes the easy way out when like going to Miami was the only easy way out he ever took.
And
Like
that's kind of what I was gonna say. And there's one other Game 6 back in 2017 when he was with the Cavs and they went into Game 7 in the Garden. The dude fucking went off. But I think that his legacy would be a little bit different if he never went to Miami. I think that gives people really a reason to say that he was kind of a joiner and like joined up with people, like he wants to play with everyone else. I think that was the only time of his career that he really did that because he went back to Cleveland ultimately to say, hey, like, I want to bring the city a championship, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I don't think there was a single person that blamed him when he left the second time. Like, the organization was at kind of in a dog shit place. I mean, Kyrie was on his fucking bullshit,
Yep.
and like LeBron wanted to go out to LA where he could make a lot more money, not just playing the game of basketball, but a lot of other business opportunities that are out there. And I think at that point in his career, he had 3 championships, he'd won some MVPs, he'd cemented himself as kind of a legend of the game. And I think that would the whole Lakers or where he's at now is kind of just for like the LeBron of the future to get him to the next step of like that next step of the generational wealth type of thing. I don't think it was so much about the game of basketball, but more so to benefit him, benefit his family, benefit his LeBron brand as they go. But in terms of just being like kind of what this post is saying, the only time I would believe this or agree with this is whenever he went to Miami, because I know that you're a Heat fan, so you obviously are like, no, it was fucking awesome. But it wasn't a bitch move, but it was kind of like like you are kind of taking the easy way out. Like you're going to this place where there's already 2 All-Stars. Nobody else had really done this to this point. I know the Boston Celtics were a thing, but this was the first time. Like
free agency
was the reason that it happened. And then I really think to this day he probably regrets like the decision on ESPN. Like that was a little corny, and I think that rubbed people the wrong way. And he'd probably be the first today to tell you, yeah, that probably wasn't the best idea, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is like the funny part about that is like I don't remember how much he ended up raising, but like the proceeds or whatever of like I don't understand even how the deal went, but essentially there was something in place where the boys Boys and Girl Club of like Cleveland, Ohio, or some shit, or maybe it was of America. I don't fucking know. Got like some type of cut of it, and he's like, I mean, at the end of the day, I earned a lot of money for them, so fuck it. But like, I think that another thing with the Miami thing that I think people like, I do think it's different if he goes somewhere where a dude didn't already win a ring. Like, I think the fact that D Wade won a ring definitely, I think it rubbed people even worse than what they would have been. Like, let's say this is like, if it's like LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Amari Stoudemire in that same free agency class that go together, like, I just feel like the talk is a little bit less. Like, and then if they're going to like the Knicks,
for sure,
I think the talk is so much different than it's like you join D Wade, who
D Wade was a top 5 player who had a ring on his finger already.
Correct. Like you join a guy who is trying to argue to be as good as you. Like, I remember the days in school of trying to act like D Wade was better than LeBron. I remember those days.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's something that really rubs people as well. Like, and then the last note I wanted to say about just like the Lakers thing, because a lot of people have the assumption like he did the same thing with the Lakers as he did with Miami. Well, when he joined the Lakers, that was when they were the young Bulls, and like that was Lonzo and Brandon Ingram, and like they had talent out of their fucking ears, man, but they were young as fuck. And like LeBron, I think it was only 1 year played, and then maybe the injury year was that after that or that year, I can't remember. But then he was like, I'm gonna be here trying to play for championships. Like, I came here not knowing what this was going to be, but go get me a player. There's plenty of young guys to trade for somebody.
Yeah.
And insert AD, insert, another finals ring against my beloved Heat. But
well, I think that he ultimately went there to help the business side of things more than anything, but he also knew that he could go there and have confidence in a front office that they're kind of like the Lakers are always operating in that way to be a championship team. I know they have years out there, a couple stretch of years where maybe they weren't at that caliber, or they just didn't have a star or the guys in the building to really get it done. But I think he felt more confident in the Los Angeles Lakers and the ownership that they had there that, hey, if I come in, like, they're going to do everything in their power to give me the resources to ultimately bring another ring here to LA. So I think he felt confident that he could go there. Maybe everything wasn't in place on day one, but they would make something happen. And I mean, that's what they did. And they got a ring out of it, brought in AD, and they got it done. But what are your opinions on this tweet from Jeremiah? Are you on the same page I am? You think somebody bumped him?
I mean, someone definitely bumped him and was like, hey, man, I don't think you should be tweeting that. But
he didn't fucking say anything. He literally put an emoji, which is the funniest thing ever.
But the funny part is like, what are the chances? Like, because you know how it is on Twitter. Like, you read something you like, and you just quote tweets it. What's the chance he didn't read the second paragraph?
Like, well, I was listening to another podcast too. I was listening to another podcast too, and they basically, like, when you read this out loud, ruthless killers like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady wanted to be everyone they competed against. Overrated LeBron James. Like, I agreed with them. How do you miss that part? Like, how do you miss, like, there's an entire space there. It's not like it's one paragraph where, yeah, you might have just, like, fucking missed it. It's the first 3 words of the second paragraph. Like, that's pretty easy and sticks out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree, but I do think there's a chance. I got a feeling Jeremiah, if we know anything about the MJs and the Kobes of the world, they got tunnel vision. So
tunnel vision and really don't give a fuck, which probably also kind of backs up his comments last week about Michigan, which I absolutely love and think it's fucking awesome and really don't care that he said it.
I mean, after doing some highlight tape watching of Jeremiah Smith, he can say whatever the hell he wants, to be quite honest.
See, that was my opinion. Like, if there's one guy on this earth, or a couple guys on this earth that can say something like this, Jeremiah Smith is absolutely one of them, and I'm not going to care. if this is like Will Howard or somebody like that making that, I'm like, all right, dude, calm the fuck down a little bit. Like, you're not Jeremiah. You aren't like just the best thing that's ever came out of a fucking factory.
Yeah. I mean, the Jeremiah thing, like, I don't know if we want to transition into just the freshman talk, comparing Jeremiah versus, the other dudes. But, like, watching Jeremiah film is like watching, like, I don't even know, man. Like, he literally looks like Julio Jones out there. And obviously Julio Jones better, at his peak than Jeremiah is now, but that's also talking about Jeremiah, who's 19 years old and is just like the arrow couldn't be pointed further up on him. And the thing is like watching him, it's basically contested catch and or 15 yards every single play. And it's like, I don't understand how a guy can get so wide open, but also on the other side of it, be able to make so many contested catches. Because so many times in receivers, it's like, yep, this guy's a separator. And then that's just what he is. Like, he gets open, he catches, and then he's not really a contested ball catch or whatever.
Yeah, you think of like a Garrett Wilson or a Justin Jefferson. They're just like a route running technician where they just create separation because they're so fucking twitchy in and out of breaks.
Yeah, and I will say, like, those two guys obviously have the contested ball thing too, but that's why they're elite receivers. But
for sure,
I think and especially at the college level, a lot of times you rely on the thing that you're so good at. Like, I'm the open guy, I get open, or I'm the contested guy. We're doing jump balls, we're doing fades, we're doing
just
things
throw
like
it
that.
up.
Exactly. But the thing is when you're watching him, it's everything. Like, they're working things like jets and things to throw out of the backfield because he's got the speed.
Handing it off to him out of the backfield.
Handing it off to him out of the backfield.
And then you go to the Oregon game. There's literally twice that I remember where there was two guys on him, and it was basically just fucking throw it up and let the kid go high point one.
Yep.
And then there's another play on the left side of the field. I think it was too high coverage. It was probably cover two with safeties on, or with man on the edges. In the corner, he created a little bit of separation from the corner. Safety came over for help. It was a great ball by Howard. You can't forget about that. But, I mean, the dude just fucking lays out and just snags it. And at that point of the game, you're like, oh, my God. Like, they literally cannot do anything to stop this kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. And I think that's why the freshman Jeremiah versus other freshmen is such an interesting debate. Because I don't think the list is very long.
I mean, it's like AP. I think that's been talked about. That's been thrown around before. Like, even on the level of LeBron James, I would say coming out of high school, just in terms of physically dominant, I think that's in the conversation. I think for the position that LeBron played in the competition that he was going up against at a high school, and the size that Jeremiah was going up against probably the best high school competition in the country, if not the best, one of the top 2 or 3 best. Maybe California, Texas, I don't really know. They could probably compete with Southern Florida talent. But either which way, it's the top end of high school talent. At that size and the domination he brought, it was similar to what LeBron James was doing whenever he came out of high school. Let's not get this fucking twisted.
I mean, absolutely. And I think when you look at I'm not even a huge recruiting profiles guy, but I'm keeping eyes on them and whatnot. And 24/7, their scale goes above 100, but they're not just fucking handing them out. And Jeremiah, I think it was a 101, and it's a 101 receiver is going to Ohio State, who is just pumping out receivers. Like, it's a fucking atom bomb of just success, of just obvious success, I should say, of like, this dude is going to be unreal. And I think that's why the Cooper Flagg makes like a lot of like I know it's timely since he just gets drafted 1 or whatever, but like I mean, arguably Jeremiah plays on a team that doesn't have a first round receiver on it in Emeka Buka. There's a decent chance he's winning Blandikoff and the receiver awards as a freshman, which I mean, I would doubt it would get to the Heisman level, but like, I mean, Cooper Flagg's obviously winning the Wooden Award is on on a pretty crazy level as a freshman, but like the freshman isn't like unheard of in basketball of having that success since it's a very individual dependent sport. So it's like I think those are interesting people to compare it to because like, and I think like I kind of like I know people. I feel like people in general don't like the across sports comparisons, but I think for like I think it's easier for like the guys like this because it's like they stand alone so much that like they so clearly are just better than everybody they're playing against that they kind of stand alone. Like, I mean, Cooper Flagg maybe. I didn't do too much research on other freshman seasons, but I mean, I don't know if he ended this way, but there was a time pretty deep into the season that Cooper Flagg led Duke in every statistical stat. Duke was, I don't know if they ended up being the number 1 overall seed. I don't think they did, but they were 1 seed in the tournament. And this kid, a freshman, leads the team in all stats. And not only
they probably should have won the national championship.
They definitely should have won the national championship. But they opened the door for Florida when they lost to Houston. Like, I feel like it was one of those things like Houston, like, I feel like Houston was the best team to beat Duke, but they were not going to be like I didn't really like them against Florida or Auburn, especially Florida. Which, I mean, they had Florida on the ropes too, don't get me wrong, but they felt like they had the best chance against Duke just because of that defensive, like, just psychoness, honestly, and that's why they won. Like, Duke thought they'd won and laid off the gas, and Houston kept stepping on their throat, and they finally choked them out. But
yeah. I think whenever you do, like, a cross-sports debate like this, like, you have to look at it one of two ways, like, how physically dominant are they compared to everybody else? And then, like, what is their production on the field or on the court? Whenever I think of Cooper Flagg, like, he 1,000% has all the production. Like, he's really good, very skilled for his size and everything, like, really tall. But he had the production to back up everything that he was doing. But whenever I look at Cooper Flagg or I think about Cooper Flagg, it's not really, like, the physical traits that, like, jump out at the board at you. Like, don't get me wrong, he has phenomenal physical traits. But I don't sit there and think of him as a guy who runs really fast, jumps really high. Like, he has the length. I'll give him that. He has a really elite length. He's long and can do a lot of things at that size. But I think that that's where he lacks compared to Jeremiah. But on the other side of it, I think people would also argue, like, Cooper Flagg had more production in his single season of playing than what Jeremiah had in his freshman season. But exactly like you said, basketball's a little bit different of a sport. Yeah, 5 guys, more individualized. Where in football, there's 11 guys, and it's a little bit harder, I would say, to get guys involved or kind of have more individual standout and things like that. Now, the AP argument. Now, Norm, this might be a tough one. I'm looking at AP's stats. Do you know his fucking stats his freshman year?
I'm very interested, and I got another guy for you once you give me this.
AP in his freshman year at Oklahoma, he had 339 carries for 1,925 yards and 15 touchdowns. He almost had 2,000 fucking yards as a freshman. Now, he's the type of guy, like what I was just saying about Cooper Flagg, that he's more of like on the production side and then like the physical traits don't scream out at you as much. He might be the one where like both do. Because that shocked the fuck out of me. Now, his junior season, he only had 1,100 yards, and his sophomore season, he only had 1,100 yards, and then his junior season, he only had 1,000 yards. I'm sure he was banged up and hurt somewhat in there. I think I do remember him being hurt, but obviously we were pretty young at that point. But the other point is he was probably like a can't-miss prospect. Like, I'm 1,000% going to be a top 5 pick going into the NFL and have a really good NFL career. So I'm not going to risk anything. I'm not going to go out there and try to fuck up my career. So that's probably why his production fell off a little bit in years 2 and 3. But when you look at a guy who has the physical traits that is just insane out of a lab, off the board, parlay that with the production on the field, I think that AP, you can make a pretty good argument for him against Jeremiah.
Yeah, if we're just talking freshman seasons, one guy that has to be thrown in, because, I did a quick best receiver freshman years ever. Michael Crabtree maybe has the best receiver season in our lifetimes. His freshman year, he had 134 catches for 1,062 yards, 22 touchdowns.
So he had 1,062 yards and how many touchdowns?
1,962 yards.
Oh, he had nearly 2,000 as a freshman?
About two G's.
Good fucking God.
And so this was the Mike Leach, toss the pigskin Red Raiders in Texas Tech.
Right. They weren't running the ball ever.
So, they were throwing the ball around, don't get me wrong, but like looking at it, like even comparing like teammates he had, like, which this is something I did not know. Danny Amendola was on this Texas Tech team. He had 109 yards for 1,245 and 6 tutters. But yeah, that's a pretty almost 2,000 yards is a pretty big chunk. But again, this is also Graham Harrell, who led looks like the FBS in almost every stat, completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns, and then yards per game, obviously, with those. But I think the more interesting part is he led the Big 12 in completion percentage too. So like, it wasn't like they were chucking it and he wasn't complete. But yeah, no, I was astounded. Again, we were pretty young around this time too, but I do remember the old Texas Tech squads and the Michael Crabtree. And them being very,
like,
very good.
Their upset against Texas when they hit Crabtree, I remember that.
Yeah, and the thing is I think that was actually the year after. I'm kind of just scrolling through right now because the year Crabtree almost had 2,000 yards, they went 9-4, and then they went 4-4 in conference. The next year was the year they really cooked. They were 11-12, 7-1 in conference. And let's see if this was the next year. I'm pretty sure it was, though. It sure was. Yep. But man, looking back at this is gets you a little sad thinking about the old Big 12, man. Like this 2007, 2008 Big 12, and them throwing the ball around and having a lot of firepower. It is greatly missed.
A lot of fun games to watch.
Yeah.
But I also think, like you said, like, Jeremiah might not have the production that, like, a Crabtree had. Might not have the production that you would say, like, a Cooper Flagg had. Just a guy who splashed onto his scene immediately. But I think he brought up a good point. Like, he had a first-round receiver he was also sharing the ball with. Carnell Tate took a back seat to both of those two, who, if he goes out and has a good year this year, he's going to probably be a first-rounder. And then you don't even talk about the two running backs in the backfield who were damn near first-rounders. Like, He was the best player surrounded by a first-round receiver, a potential another first-round receiver, and then two guys who are NFL running backs going to start day one for their respective teams, and they were taken just outside the first round. And they're running backs, so that's probably why they fell out of the first round, because of the position that they play. But they're still that level. They're a first-round level talent. They're a first-round level player. And Jeremiah was the best out of anybody on that team that went on to win a national title.
Yeah, and even to add a layer to that, like, you could argue they also didn't make it in the first round because the running back class was so fucking deep this year. Like, this was one of the deepest running back classes I can remember. Like,
I mean, who went above him? Genty,
what was that, 5-4, something like that to the Raiders. Hampton went 22 to the Chargers, and then I think was Judkins to the Browns. I think he was the third one off the board.
I think I would take both of those guys over. I would take Judkins and Travion over Genty and Hampton. Might be a little bit of bias there, but I don't think that that's crazy.
I think. Well, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of Travion bias. I've been banging the Travion drum for a while. It's just if he I think he has the most talent if he stays healthy, because like I think he does everything Genty does, but like
I think he's better out of the backfield too.
Yeah, and I mean,
I think he's more explosive with the ball in his hands than what Genty is.
I would argue definitely. Like Genty might have a little bit more like power.
Genty is crazy good at like balance and power. Like when he was going through tackles or guys were going to tackle him, I couldn't fucking believe the amount of times that guys would bounce off him. He keeps his feet and just goes for another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards. Like I think his balance was fucking elite, and he's the type of guy that you can turn around and hand the ball off to in the NFL 20 to 25 times. And he can take that workload. I think what's different is Travion. I think you worry about his injuries a little bit, taking the ball 20 to 25 times a game. But on the other side, I think that Travion, when every time he touches the ball, he might take it 75.
Correct. Yeah, and that's really my argument for Travion, because I think I still would have Genty 1, but I think Henderson is my 2. In the class, to be honest. Like, yeah,
I would agree with that.
If we're just talking pure like talent, like he may be 1. Like the fact it's debatable with Genty, when Genty like had one of the best non-Heisman seasons in a while, like he's the real fucking deal. Like, and
yeah,
I think it just goes down to say like this class, like I mean, like Hampton. He's a fucking stud too. Like, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from him by boosting our Buckeyes, but like, I mean, like, it's kind of one of those things. Like those 4, and I'll throw Caleb Johnson, like those top 5 dudes. So like, as a Browns fan needing a running back, I was like, give me any of those 5, like. Because I know I get a stud, and like it ended up happening. But it was one of those things. Like I'm not normally like interchangeable. Like it's all right as long as you draft me a receiver or something like that. Like normally it's like I want this guy or this guy. Like the list isn't as long. But this one's like give me
any of them and I'll be happy with it. But I also don't think that the Browns fucked up by taking Quinshon over Travion, though. I think for the offense that the Browns run, I think that Quinshon fits that a little bit more than what Travion does. I think Quinshon is a little bit more of like a grinded out back, like a guy who can take a little bit more carries. I think Travion still has a little bit more home run ability than what Quinshon does, but I think Quinshon like fits like that Nick Chubb type of role for the Browns. Like I don't think he's Nick Chubb. Like I'm not saying that Nick Chubb was in a league of his own. Not ready to say that yet, but I think that he kind of fits that mold of what the Browns are looking for in a running back. Like we're coming downhill, we're coming in your face, like we're turning around, hand the fucking ball off, and you got to stop it. Or I think like Genty would have been like the ideal back for the Browns. But obviously, you're not taking him in at that spot. But I think that Quinshon can play that role of Genty pretty damn well, and I think he has a little bit more home run ability than what Genty does. Genty's probably a little bit better like downhill runner, but I think Quinshon will fill that role very well and still have kind of that home run ability that maybe Genty doesn't have as much. Not saying that Genty doesn't, but not as much as Quinshon.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the Browns side of it, like, I mean, as much as it pains me to say, with me being a Henderson guy, like, Judkins did make a lot more sense. Like, he fits Stefanski like a glove. Like, it's literally perfect. And I mean, while we're doing some Browns talk, like, the Sampson pick, I feel like was like the Browns basically saying, like, yeah, we're redoing the entire backfield. This class has so many stud running backs. We'll add 2 because why not add more weapons? Like, whoa, when is that ever an issue? Like, so
right.
I thought it made a lot of sense for them taking 2, and I was happy with that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a pretty good conversation about Jeremiah. I think that you could definitely say he might be the most polished freshman ever. And you threw out the couple scenarios out there of AP and Cooper Flagg. And I think the situation he's in, he checks off all the boxes. Physically talented, he had the production. But then I think the part that a lot of the other 2 didn't have that he also checks off is just what he had around him. I think that matters a lot. If you take a couple of those guys out of the scenario, I think he has even better numbers. And I think all of us can sit here and say Jeremiah probably should have gotten the ball more than what he did. I think it wasn't until the playoffs where they ultimately started using him how they should have been using him all along. But that Michigan loss is what drove them to start to use him in the ways that they did, getting creative, getting him the ball. Like, kind of like what you said at the beginning. It wasn't just Jeremiah, go out on the edge, go downfield, we'll throw it up to you, go make something happen. It was sending him into motion, getting him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. It was handing him the ball off. It was creative in how they got about it. And after what people saw this past season, like, Brian Hartline's going to have to get creative in getting his guy the ball, because you can't just go like you did in the Texas game of the playoff last year and just not get your best player the ball. That's not an option. So you're going to have to find ways to get creative and continue to get him the ball as you go on through the season.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to compare the utilization of him this year to last year, because I wouldn't be surprised if it's not that different, because it almost felt like an unleashing of him in the playoff. And, like,
yes,
like, because for a team like Ohio State, when you're so much more talented than most of the teams you're playing during the regular season, like, you almost want to hold a couple cards back. So that would be the only caveat I would say for him, is, like, I think there's a chance that could happen. But I mean, stars are stars, and, like, I think that being said, like, he's probably gonna have 1,400, 1,500 yards pretty easily for him. Like, but I mean, again, it kind of goes to targets, like, because we're comparing to Crabtree, like, 104 catches. I'm sure he had 180, maybe 200 targets. Like, I mean, that's a lot of balls being thrown your way.
Yes, for sure. So Metal just texted me. He said he wants to come in and say something quick. So I'm going to try to figure out how to get him in here.
Uh-oh. Not enough Michigan talk.
I think he said he wanted to say one thing real quick, and then he would get out. I think he has something to say about something stupid somebody said to him. I don't know how to do this, though. I don't know how to do this, Metal. If you're watching, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not near as tech savvy as what you are.
I can entertain him with a Michigan. I'm very happy with the Browns' acquisition of Mason Graham. We will take good care of him. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've talked pretty in depth on that. I don't know if I just call him, if that would fuck something up. Hope not. I'm just going to try it. Can you still hear me, Norm? Can you still hear me, Norm?
Yes, I can.
All
It
right.
says the
That
stream has ended.
does it say that?
Yeah. Let me. Yeah, I don't.
Well, here, hold on. I'll just
It
start it
seems like
again. I just stopped the recording. I'll just add the next section in. I don't know how to do this, so
I mean, you could probably add them in from now, not or do you have to like make like a chat?
I don't know, dude.
Mm,
I'll have to just say
Uh,
care.
oh, there's a plus sign.
Where at? I'm
Never
on my
mind.
computer though.
Yes, I won't help much. Fuck. Oh. Click your name, or like click the Ohio divided name with like the arrow to the right of it. I don't know what computer looks like, but click like your
Here.
profile.
Let me just share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Uh.
Does it look all fucked up?
Yeah.
Let me try this. Let me try something else.
No, yeah, I'm hearing myself twice. Well, actually, I could kind of see it. Like on the bottom left, like you see how you have like your name and how you're online.
Now can you see it?
Yeah, well, I can see like the stream.
So what did you say to do?
Like in your Discord, if you click like your profile name, like you see how Michigan Metal on the bottom right. Like if you'd click his, you might be able to do it by clicking his actually.
Let me see.
And then, like once you do that, it'll have like, or at least for the call, it said like members. Which I guess if I was like in the like in our actual messages, like yeah, like you know how it says ongoing call in our messages. Like if you hit your name, it'll show the members in like the call.
Yeah.
Like you might have to make a new group with us in it, but you may be able to add him from that.
Let me just try that. I'm gonna hang up with this real quick. All right, I think that did it.
I think that's the way, yeah.
All right, I think we got like 2 topics left.
Yeah, honestly, do you have anything that shows what we were planning to talk about?
What do you mean?
Like for the pod? Because I was gonna say we could probably just cut the gambling one. Neither of us seem too passionate about that.
Yeah, so then I mean the last 2 topics would just be basically Caleb Downs being top rated safety ever, and then who would be what's more likely, Downs at top 4 or Jeremiah top 2, and then just the Reds, which I don't think we're gonna talk. I don't think we'll talk about the Reds a whole lot. Basically, just say who went to the All-Star game, and then they've basically been sucking dick the past week.
Except today.
I don't know. I just called him. I'm just gonna fucking start this again and just say whatever. Let me hang up and just call you individually.
Because he's still on the message or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you still see my screen?
We can't right now. So were we like? So are we like not like the live stop?
Yeah, we're not live anymore. I don't think. I hope not.
Okay.
I don't think.
Well, if we are, hey.
Yeah. Didn't you say it said live stream ended?
Yes, but it said that a couple times. So I think that was correlated to the Discord. I'm not sure if it was to live.
No, I think we're still live.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, we're still live, but I mean, the recording's not going, so whenever I post it to Spotify and shit, this won't be showing up. All right, I'm going to try one more time to get him back in here. He just texted me.
Sounds good. I think something's happened. You can hear me twice. Is there 2 calls?
I don't fucking know. Yeah, I don't know how to do this.
Toast just texted me. You're live still.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. I guess I probably had to hit end stream, but whatever.
Whatever. The people, this is the behind the scenes of a live show.
All right, I cannot figure this out. I'm just going to get back into it and then go from there. All right, let me hit record. Then we'll hit go live. All right, sorry for the interruption, everybody. We were trying to get Metal in here. Metal, if you're still listening, I created a chat with you and Norm and me, and I tried calling you. I don't know really what's going on, but if you can join, hop in. I'm in the group, so if you're listening to this, hop in, my guy. Say whatever it is that you're on your mind and what has pissed you off this week. I know that you were very passionate about a topic and wanted to expound on something. So if you can figure it out, just pop in. Oh, here he is.
Add him.
Hey, can you hear me?
All right, hold on one second. Let me add him to the call.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just going to stop the recording again.
All right. What's his Discord name? Norm
1738.
1738. All right, I'm gonna call this one. Actually, I can still. Hey, go back to the group and join the voice. If you look in the messages, there should be a group between the 3 of us.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
All right. Well, I'm gonna.
There. Norm, can you hear us? All right, Norm, can you hear us?
Yup.
All right, there we go. Metal, can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
I love how everybody on Twitter is just listening to all this, but who cares? I don't think we've said anything bad.
I mean, we definitely didn't say anything bad. It's just honestly the funny shit of talking about what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know. It says that he's in here.
Couldn't hear like I couldn't. Like I don't know. This can't go 3 ways.
Yeah, I don't
Discord.
know.
Come on, man.
Well, let's just get back into it since we're live right now. And then we'll go from there. So let me start the recording again. There he is. Metal, what up?
All right, Jesus Christ.
Norm, can you hear?
Fucking
Yeah, I can hear you.
Discord is so ass.
Metal, do you wanna do the rest of the show with us, or are you wanting to stay on for a few minutes, or what you wanting to do? We have
probably just a few minutes because I gotta get back.
Okay.
What?
You want me to record this then? Because I stopped the recording, but everybody's listening to this shit show live on Twitter and live.
Well, I mean, we can download the Twitter video once it gets posted. It just takes a time for it to render, and then we can just download it via Chinese links.
Well, I think I've got all the good recordings. I think we'll be good for YouTube and Spotify and shit. But basically, here, I'll just start recording, and then you go into whatever you want to go into, and then hop off whenever you want, and then Norm and I will finish the rest of it then.
All right, cool.
Because I got the first part, and it's fine. I just forgot to hit end stream. But, oh well. All right. Live.
So I was listening to you guys talk about Jeremiah Smith. And kind of, I call it like bits and pieces of it. Like the reasoning why, like he posted the 100. Like
yeah.
Here's two possibilities to that, right? I think that he didn't read. Either A, he didn't read the tweet itself or the X comment or the X post, and it talked about LeBron James because. Inside that paragraph, it talked about how overrated he was because he had to switch teams for championships. And the second thought to that is he does feel that way about LeBron. And someone at Ohio State was like, this is probably bad publicity since LeBron is a huge contributor for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, I can understand that, I guess. Because like that, I mean that's just a bad look in general. Like you have someone who is possibly the best wide receiver ever to play at Ohio State, and he's saying these things about possibly the best basketball player ever, which I don't believe that, but in a lot of people's minds, they do believe that. So
yeah.
I mean, it was just a bad look. And then I made that tweet about him deleting his comments, and he fucking blocked me.
Yeah, he did block you. And last week we talked about what the bitch energy it is to block somebody on X.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it. I was like, okay, so what about it that I said that was so offensive to you? I just say, hey, look, this guy deleted a tweet. Obviously, someone told him, and some PR or like a public relations or PAO was like, hey, you need to get rid of this right now because LeBron James is a huge contributor to Ohio State. And then he goes on and blocks me like fucking Connor Stallions over here blocking me because he's a bitch as well. Hope you're listening to this. You're probably not. But, yeah, I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
I think it was more so not like what you said, but it was just like Michigan in your name.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
I'm sure like he probably didn't really care what you said. Because I can't remember what you posted off the top of my head, but it was not like block worthy at all. I just assume it was probably you just like saying some shit about him. He saw your name of Michigan in the title or in your name, and then he was like, fuck this dude, I'm going to block him. But on the other side, I kind of get what you mean. I said I think somebody just stepped in his ear and was like, hey, like you should probably take that down because that doesn't look good for us. The other side of it is I don't know how you missed that second part about like it literally the first three words say overrated LeBron James. I'm not sure how you fucking missed that part, but maybe he did.
Yeah.
But on the same lens, I think Jeremiah sees himself as all of those guys mentioned in that tweet. So for him to like take a little jab at like he didn't say anything. He posted an emoji. It wasn't anything fucking like fuck LeBron, fuck this, fuck that, whatever. It was literally an emoji. So I think like if he did see it, and he just said, like, I really don't care. Like, I think he generally sees himself in the same company as all those guys that are listed there. And, like, we heard his comments a week ago about Michigan. Like, he really doesn't fucking care. He wants to be great. He knows that he's great. He knows that he has the ability to be one of the best to ever play the game. And I really ultimately just think that he's just like, fuck it, 100. Like, I agree with this. No, not really any shot at LeBron. Just that, like, I want my name to be in the same class as these guys. I want to be in the same conversations as these guys. And then I really think somebody just stepped in and said, hey, he gives us a lot of money. He puts us in the spotlight in a really good spot. LeBron or Jeremiah, you should probably take that down.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to me like out of like all of like Ohio State players that I've seen on Twitter and stuff, and like I follow a lot of them too, just because like I just want to like see what they're talking about and stuff. He's probably like the most active one that will say something. Like I noticed it last year too.
The thing is too, I think whenever he says something, like anything, it just goes viral. He never really says much. He usually just says like a word or two or like an emoji like that, and then people just take it a million different directions.
Oh yeah, I don't. I think a lot of like Ohio State fans were probably pissed off too that because I'm sure a majority of Ohio State fans are Cavs fans, or like maybe not even like half or like under half.
I don't know. I bet Jeremiah Smith is more loved in Ohio than LeBron. Like, there's a lot of people that don't really like LeBron in Ohio. Wouldn't you agree, Norm?
I feel like LeBron is such a hard, like it's such a hard read because it's like
I don't think that there's like a
Cavs fans, so they hate him but love him.
There's no middle ground for LeBron. There's no middle ground. You either love him or you hate him, type of thing. Because there's a lot of people that fucking love him, and there's a lot of people that hate him.
He did leave. You know, he did leave Cleveland for like to fucking die for Miami Heat, and then when he won his couple of championships with Bosh and Wade, he did come back and win. I mean, he brought the Cavs to like a championship caliber team, you know, the first time around, and then he came back and he actually got them a championship.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure like, you know, some people were probably like, oh, you know, oh well, like they probably forgave him.
I think that they forgave him, but I think like it's so like far removed now. Like it's like, oh yeah, that was awesome. What he did to win that championship's awesome. But I think that everybody will agree LeBron's got a pretty big douchey side to him too. And there's a good crowd out there that does not like LeBron in Ohio. Like I will guarantee you that. Especially like older generations, and I think a lot of that's driven by the whole MJ LeBron debate, which me and Norm said earlier, we're not fucking getting into that because that'll be a 2-hour conversation in and of itself. But
let's fucking do it. I'm just kidding. No, like my dad and his friends, like they're all, you know, they fucking hate LeBron James, and my dad's a Lakers fan, and then my dad's best friend's a Celtics fan. So like they talk about like MJ is the GOAT all the time, and you know we talked about this before. Where like my brothers are all think, besides my one brother, they all think that LeBron is like the greatest thing since like sliced bread. So I mean, I guess it is like kind of like an older generation thing. Where we're like, oh fuck LeBron James.
Well, I think it's like MJ's their guy. Like that's who they grew up watching. That's their generation, and now like. LeBron's probably one of the first guys in history to legitimately make that an argument. So it's kind of like a personal thing, I think, to a lot of the older generation.
Right. I can see that. Like, it's extremely subjective. Like, oh, I watched this guy, you know, win six finals and never lost the final. Like, growing up at, like, in the 90s, or, you know, they're at an age where they can understand, like, what's happening and so on. So, yeah, I mean, I can see that.
Yeah,
but JJ, like, I think, like I said, I think that he just didn't really understand like what he was saying with that 100, and people probably took it like at a different level. Like, oh, this guy, he just said fuck LeBron James. He thinks he's overrated.
Yeah. See, I think that he definitely saw that part. He just didn't really comprehend that like. Who LeBron James was and where he was, like where he is currently playing at, and kind of the relationship between where he's playing and LeBron. Like, I think that there's a more likelihood of that than there is of him just like simply not reading the tweet. Like the first 3 words of the second paragraph are overrated LeBron James. Like I think that you don't just glance over that.
I've seen a lot of people glance over tweets in my life, all right? And there's a lot of brain dead
out there.
That
is true.
I'm not saying J.J. Smith is a brain dead, but, I mean...
I'm sure he's not very smart in school. I'm sure he's there to play ball.
Who said... Was that Cardell Jones that said that I didn't come here to play school?
Yeah.
That's correct.
And he's a grade A fucking dumb fuck. No, he's not. He's a cool dude. He just did not care about school, which...
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Like, if you're going to be possibly the best wide receiver to come out of college football, I would not give a fuck about school. Like, you know you're already getting paid. You're going to get the bag. Anyways,
and if this
it doesn't really matter.
If this gets clipped up, because we've been clipped up before in our shows, if this
fuck
gets
'em.
clipped, if this gets clipped up, I'm not saying Cardale Jones is a dumb fuck, like a literal, like just stupid person. I'm just saying like he was a dumb fuck college kid that was funny as shit. Like you could tell he was really fun to be around, I'm sure. But he was 100% more into the football than he was school, and I would think he would probably agree with me if he was right here talking to me right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I didn't want anybody to take that the wrong way, that I think Cardale Jones has an IQ of like 2 or something.
I mean, he could.
Because we got clipped up by that Michigan guy, and good God, people went insane on us because we called the Michigan GM the wrong name.
Dude, he's got it's fuck. I don't even know his name, but I see him all the time because like he's a huge Tigers fan.
Yeah,
And
he
has
is.
like 70,000 followers. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, Norm, I don't know if you saw that, but we were talking about how Michigan's GM came back and shit through like this whole sign stealing shit. And we called him Brad Holmes, who actually is the Lions GM. And I saw the tweet, and I put the tweet into like the episode notes like we have. And like on the show, like I literally just said Michigan GM Brad Holmes, and he fucking clipped it up and like posted it out and shit. Like, this fucking moron doesn't know the Michigan GM name. And I was basically like, dude, I don't give one single fuck what the Michigan GM's name is. I don't follow Michigan like that. I don't really care. And I didn't even know who the Lions GM was. So it was 100% a wrong tweet. Somebody posted it wrong. And I was like, I will 1000% take the blame for it. I was the one that put it into the show notes. Like, I was the one that screwed up the name. And it was like, but on the flip side, I really don't fucking care. If it was like Mark Pantoni for Ohio State and I called him like Duke Tobin or like Andrew Barry, like, yeah, I would feel like an idiot because like I'm from Ohio and I called him a GM of a pro team here in the state. But I called the GM Brad Holmes the Lions GM. I'm like, I didn't know either of these fucking people, and I don't care.
Well, it's also just like, A, shit's not that serious. B, you know who I'm talking about. Name was wrong. It's all right. Shit ain't that serious. We're just talking ball.
Yeah, it's just nitpicking. That's all it is. Like, oh, these guys are fucking retarded. Look at them. They just called Michigan's GM Brad Holmes. Ha ha ha. Lol lol. Like, no one gives a fuck. Like, go make your own fucking podcast and say fucking dumb shit if people got a problem with it. So I got one more thing before I go. I wanted to talk about, like, because I know this has like been like showing up in my feed a lot, and this might be a little off topic. I do think people, especially Michigan fans, if we have any Michigan fans listening, we're not going to get every fucking recruit. Like, everyone just needs to chill out, especially with the whole fiasco with like Calvin Russell that happened last week. I don't know if you guys like were paying attention to that on Saturday night or not. But
I don't even know who the hell that is.
It's the 5-star wide receiver that got that committed to Syracuse, right? And
so he probably went there for money, because why would he go to Syracuse?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, at first glance, like, I'm just like, okay, so what potential do you see at Syracuse? Like, there was talks that like he is basically a dual athlete, where like he plays basketball and football, and I guess Syracuse offered him like $4.5 million, and he possibly wants to play basketball at that school, right? To which, like, I don't think Michigan was going to go and bargain for, or basically like go head to head. And I mean, that's understandable. Like, I don't think any player that hasn't even like played one single fucking down in college football is worth like millions of dollars. Like, especially the was it Flexo or from that went to Texas Tech? I could be fucking up his name.
Oh, the tackle. Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude, you're not worth that much money, bro. Like,
yeah,
you could fucking suck. The same thing with Bryce Underwood. Like, I don't think Bryce Underwood is worth like $12 million. Like, that's just ridiculous, right? So, but to the point, like, Michigan fans were getting riled up saying, like, I don't understand, like, why he went there. I understand your, like, frustration. And then people would say, like, well, he made the wrong choice. Like, people need to realize these are 16-year-old kids. When they are getting the bag thrown at them, like this much money, I'm gonna take the fucking money. Like
They're
I
gonna
don't
go
care.
where the money's at. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's just the way it is. And I know a lot of people were like, getting riled up and stuff and just angry at these recruits. And like, we just have to realize as like college football fans around, you're not going to get every single fucking recruit. Like it just is the way it is. Like go fucking cry in a corner about it. Like grow the fuck up, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, and just like, for one, Fran Brown is a really good coach at Syracuse. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there. I think he'll elevate and go to a bigger school eventually, but I think he's a dog, like a guy that a lot of kids like to play for. And then for two, he definitely got a lot of money. But at the same point, like, you're not going to, in today's NIL world, it's impossible to get every recruit. Like,
yeah,
each team is only allocated so much funds, and obviously they can sign brand deals and all these other NIL deals with local companies and shit on the outside. But there's only $20 million to go around for every college sport, and college football only gets a percentage of that. And then within that percentage, each position coach or each recruiter only gets a certain percentage of the pie for their guys. And like Ohio State's kind of going through it right now too, where like they're bringing in wide receivers, they're bringing in DBs. People are getting pissed on them missing out on some edge rushers. It's like, well, Brian Hartline and Coach Walton, the DB's coach, they've been bringing in high-end 5-star talent. So whatever money is allocated to the football team is probably going to a lot of those guys because they've recruited at the highest level. They've recruited the best players in the country. So Michigan's strength is the interior, which they've been recruiting at a really, really high level, both offensive line and defensive line. They historically haven't recruited well at wide receiver. So whenever you get down to a position where it's you against a couple other schools, like a majority of Syracuse money is going to that guy. A majority of your guys' money is going to these trench players that you guys have gotten. So you're going to lose out in some of these battles like this. Like 3 to 5 years ago, you didn't see a 5-star receiver going to Syracuse because there was no fucking reason for him to. Now with the money in play, each school has the money to do it. So you're going to see random 5-stars go to random schools like a Syracuse. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all there right there with you. Like, I just think that it's just the way it is. Like, you're only getting allocated a certain amount of money, and then their position coaches some are getting allocated more funds than others. Like, make do with what you got. Like, land a few big recruits, and you might get some more money in your bucket to go get higher end receivers. I don't know. Like, it's all hard. You hear every single college football coach basically talk about they don't know what the fuck's going on. So it's clearly not easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy to recruit these kids, especially nowadays. And I agree with you 100%. There's so much more competition now, especially like with money involved.
Yeah,
like earlier in the day, like you basically just go there, like, okay, so here's the amenities of going to this school, right? Like you're gonna get, a high elite scholarship or a high elite degree if you go through and pass all your classes. And then you're going to get this amount of money for a scholarship, and that was it. But now it's like kids are getting fucking Lambos.
Yeah. I mean, before it was you go to Alabama. If you're not going to Alabama, you're probably going to, like, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, like those next-tier schools. But, like, Alabama was getting all the recruits. And then you might have your top-end talent that are like, nah, fuck Bama, I'm going to go to Ohio State, or I'm going to go to Clemson. I'm going to go to these other schools and try to go beat them. But it was basically like your top-end schools that were the only ones getting the recruits. I'll say what you want. If those guys were getting paid, they very well could have been. I don't know. They probably were getting something on the side. Whatever. That is what it is. But there wasn't the money being thrown around then that there is now.
Yeah, it's only like, Ohio State that, they'll just recruit players for tattoos back in 2010. I'm kidding. But, yeah.
Nah, they sold tattoos.
They sold tattoos.
That's just old school bartering right there.
Yeah, that's what that is. But yeah, I just wanted to come in and say hello. Norm, nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you as well.
I heard you're also a Reds fan.
I am.
You didn't sound too pleased saying that.
Hey,
Dude, since
we're
that Red
above
Sox
500
series, it's fucking
start the
sucked.
day.
I mean, hey, at least he didn't get swept.
Well, yeah, we're the only team in baseball that hasn't yet, and we were down 0-2 against the Marlins, and we won tonight, so we can still wear that. We can still put that banner up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys will progress after the All-Star break.
I hope.
Just give us some time. Tito knows what he's doing, man.
I hope.
All right, well, I'm going to go and have some beers because I'm up here in Wisconsin, and it's fucking hot as shit up here.
All right, well, thanks for hopping in, and have some fun.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
See you, Metal.
Later.
See ya.
All right, Norm, we got the last two topics. We'll keep getting on with this. So the last topic we want to talk about, and I give credit to Menace of Sports for this one because I was listening to them yesterday and they brought up this topic and I thought it was really interesting, so I wanted to talk about it. So there's been two safeties that have been drafted in the top 5 at pick 5, both Sean Taylor and Eric Perry. They were both taken at 5th overall. Do you think that Caleb Downs could be the first safety to go higher than top 5?
So I think it's an interesting question because I think it, like, I was looking at the big board earlier and that's how we started talking about all those quarterbacks. But it's interesting looking at him just in comparison to other guys. Like, I think what happens with the quarterbacks, I think decides that, to be honest. Like, if the quarterbacks, really cook this year and there's 3 get drafted in the top 5, I'm gonna guess it probably doesn't happen just based on there not being a lot of spots. Like, in which I disagree with this, but since safety's become such a what's the word? Looked at as like a non-essential position or non-premium position. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Like your edges and your tackles and your quarterbacks and your receivers and your corners and all those things on the outside.
Yep.
Like the safety has been, kind of looked down upon, with safety, linebacker, running back, tight end, and I think like what we've been kind of noticing in the league is I feel like there's been kind of a switch that's like, those non-premium positions, they matter the same. Like, you look at,
if you suck at them, these coaches are good enough, you're going to get exposed.
Yeah, and it's like also, I think it's like from a player perspective, I think it's as simple as like a star is a star. Like, I don't give a fuck where he plays. Like, if the dude's fucking long snapper, like, you want as many stars on your fucking team as you can possibly have.
And don't take that the wrong way. He's not saying take a fucking long snapper in like the top 3 rounds or something stupid.
No, I'm more so like, because I feel like the Caleb Downs thing, like the way I am thinking of him, like, and I don't even know if I would see him as like a worse prospect, but like, I think Kyle Hamilton, like, out of Notre Dame, what was that, 3 years ago? Like, I thought he was probably one of the top 5 best players in that class, and he falls to the Ravens at, like in the mid-teens, I think. And it's like, I would assume like people have learned their lesson, like, just draft the star, like it's just keep it simple, stupid. But like, I just know how drafts go in general. Like, this is across all sports. Like, the GM gets horny for the premium position.
A lot of draft risers.
It's more sexy. Yep, they rise more towards, like the highest the premium position is right now and right before the draft. When the season happens, that's when, we'll be talking about like, Caleb Downs or like an interior defensive lineman or, some positions like that. But I will say, I do think the NFL is beginning to kind of switch back. Like the running backs, I feel like the running backs have been getting more love. Like,
yeah.
we can finally get rid of the stat of like, hey, a running back made $1 million on the Super Bowl winning team after last year. So,
Yeah.
with Saquon finally getting one, we can get rid of the, running backs don't matter. You have to pay them $2 million to win a Super Bowl. But so like, I think like, and not to circle back to the Browns, but like the Browns drafting Mason Graham very early, and the Raiders drafting Genty very early. Like I think
not sexy picks, but going to be game changers.
Right, and I'll say this: like, I mean, I would consider running back sexy. It's just the wear and tear of the running back has almost overblown to this point of like, well, they don't matter
some people away.
4 years. Right, and it's like I feel like running back matters as much. It's just you should utilize them more smart than when they did back in the early to late 2000s, where you talked about AP's numbers and he had like almost 400 fucking carries as a freshman. Like that type of shit isn't going to happen anymore in the NFL because they've realized, hey, the longer we keep tread on those tires, the longer he can be good for us. Or if we don't want to do that, we get 4 years and we pay a premium for that because we ran him dry. So it's like, I mean, you can look at it however you want to look at it, but that doesn't make the position not matter. So I guess that's a long way to say, like, I think it's going to be on the border. Like, I think
top 10 for sure, I'd say.
Probably. I think top 10, I mean, I thought the same for Kyle Hamilton, but like I said, like, you would think that, like, just the talent itself, like, just would overcome that. But yeah, I mean, I think top 5 will be tough just because of all those things with the quarterback class. Like if we're talking about, maybe like the, maybe even this past year's class where, you have 2 first-round quarterbacks, only one very highly touted, where like I think this probably would have been a decent year for him. Like,
for sure.
And then he fall into one of those spots. I know there's some guys at some other positions that people would be looking at too, but like I think the massive amount of quarterbacks, like let's say 3 guys are looking the same as what they're looking at right now, just on where people are projecting them. Like that's probably going to be 3 guys that go in the top 5, or maybe 1, 2, 3. Like what was that 2 years ago? But
I think Caleb is a top 5 player, a top 5 talent that's going to go into the draft, but I don't think he's going to be taken in the top 5, and I don't think he's going to be taken in the top 4 to break those 2 guys' record. I think that you're 100% right. Like, when you get into the draft season in any sport, GMs and mainly GMs and scouts and whatnot, they just get really fucking horny for like guys that aren't really that good. They just get so obsessed with the intangibles, like how fast a guy runs, like how long they are, especially for like quarterbacks, I feel like. And with this past draft, there only being 1 quarterback taken in the first round, and then I mean I know Dart was taken later, but 1 taken in the top 10, top 5. I think that there's going to be a heavy need for quarterback this year, and like as it stands today, I would say like Arch Manning would probably be a top 5 quarterback. Cade Klubnik might be a top 5 quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier might be a top 5 quarterback. I might be missing a couple. Now, you might sit there and be like, that guy's not top 5. But do you know how obsessive these like franchises get over a quarterback? Like look, think about the guys that have gone top 5 or top 10. Like, there's a lot of guys that the second you took them, like Zach Wilson, come the fuck on. That dude was never going to amount to shit. Like, everybody knew day 1 when they took him at number 2 that he was going to be a bust. Like, NFL teams do that shit on a year-in, year-out basis. And I really think that with it being such a light quarterback class last year, I think that it's just going to force teams or like there's going to be more drive to go get a quarterback, because probably the talk around the league was Cam Ward, it's Cam Ward, and then there's a whole lot of mid. Like, obviously the Giants liked what they saw out of Dart, but I think a lot of teams ultimately sat back and said, we'll get our quarterback next year. Like, we'll fill a position, we'll fill a need, and we'll go get our quarterback next year. And I think it's really going to be hard for Caleb to crack the top 5. I think exactly you said. I think he's a top 5 talent. I just think it's going to be too crowded of a top 5 for quarterback needs specifically that I don't know if he's going to go that high. The other side of this, what do you think is more likely? JJ being top 2 or Caleb Downs being top 4?
I think for all the reasons we just said,
Yeah.
I think it's JJ by a mile.
For sure. And
I
I
mean,
think that
position-
the position, for me, that was the one thing that I thought of whenever I heard this argument was people value a wide receiver so much more than a safety. And I agree with you 100%. Like, generational players and great players are great players. It really doesn't matter what position they play. If they're a game changer and they can be a difference maker for you at no matter what the spot is, take that guy. Go get that guy. But I think that it's especially like a top 5 pick. Like, there's a lot of pressure on GMs not to screw that pick up. And they're going to take a chance at Jeremiah at number 1 or Jeremiah at number 2 than they are Caleb Downs in the top 4.
Right. And that's kind of the funny part is that's kind of why it doesn't make sense to me why more teams, like especially like safeties or like maybe not the running back just from the longevity side, like taken in the top 5. But like how many safeties have we seen that last 8 to 10 years and are just absolute studs? Like the safety.
The Bengals let one go.
I wasn't gonna bring that up, but I mean I remember us talking about that then, and I mean the
defense literally hasn't been the same since.
Exactly. Like the way I see it is, on my teams, I'm looking for as many stars as I could possibly have.
For sure.
And I call that the Pat Riley because Pat Riley is the same thing. He's only smelling for big fish. And obviously that's me being, a Heat backer and loving Pat Riley. But so it's just like adding anyone in the building that is a star seems so simple to me that it gets overcomplicated way too much that it just doesn't make sense. Like, would I draft Caleb Downs at 4? Most likely. Like, if I am not quarterback needy, I'm kind of looking at him as, again, it's probably biased, but when I'm looking at him in comparison to, the guys around him, though, when I'm looking at this big board, you had T.J. Parker from Clemson, who is very good. Caden Proctor, tackle from Bama. But, I kind of think of it as like Caleb Downs came into college football and took it over, like,
immediately
in similar ways that JJ did. And like those guys, the freshmen that come onto the scene and just tear up right away, especially in football, man. Like football is a grown man sport. So if you're coming in as a freshman, like, and able to produce like that, like, you're just different. And I think that's the biggest sign of you're going to be about it, is your ability to translate to college football that fast. Because, if you can translate as a freshman to college football, like, by the time you're leaving, you're begging for the NFL because you're fucking ready for the next level.
Yeah. I think that, again, it's just going to be, there's so many times that teams reach for premium positions because they feel like they talk themselves into a guy being a difference maker at a premium position, when in reality you have a guy like a Kyle Hamilton or a Caleb Downs, who, I don't know who made safety such like not a premium position. They basically do two things. They can support the run and the pass. So it's kind of a wild trend that we've gone on. But it's just wild because they pass on talent like that you just watch them play for 3 years in college football, and you can just tell, like, these guys are different. These guys are unreal. They're really fucking good. But they'll go take a Zach Wilson or a guy that, like, you just seen them play for 3 years and just, like, he is not as good as Caleb Downs, or he is not as good as Kyle Hamilton. So, would not be surprised. I think he's very deserving to go top 5, but I really don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and just to close the safety talk, like I feel like and maybe we just have seen it our entire lives due to the terrorists on the Ravens and Steelers for, you know, 10 years with Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu ruining our lives. But like from then on, like I was almost seeing safety as like the position because they can roam all over the place and be all
Yeah.
over the field. So it's like, have we just not learned how to utilize safeties, or has it just turned into, you know, like, because to me it's like a corner, like obviously massive to have a corner to be able to, you know, lock up a side of the field, but a safety can be across the entire field. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of like a midfielder for soccer. Like they're just an athlete and a game changer. You can just let them fucking kind of float around and do their own thing and just know whatever they're doing is is going to be really good. I just think that the whole entire like NFL or just like football as a whole, like they just have gotten so obsessive with, obviously you need a quarterback. So when you have a quarterback, you need to protect that quarterback. So whenever you need to protect that quarterback, you get offensive linemen, and and then for that quarterback, you want weapons. So you go and you get wide receivers for those weapons. Now, how you defend that is you need guys to go sack that quarterback so he doesn't kill you. So you go and you get edge rushers, and then they also have really good weapons on the outside. So you try to get guys to go guard their weapons, and it's basically like those 5 positions or those 5 position groups that essentially are like the premium positions, and that's where I think you see a lot of teams reach for those types of positions in those scenarios, and that's whenever you see Kyle Hamilton fall into fucking 20-some to the fucking Ravens. Like, how do the Ravens end up with him? I don't know, but they do.
I mean, I remember being baffled, man. Like that was crazy.
Well, who did they take this year? They took a very similar, like, who was it? It was somebody that I'm like, there's no way. Like, how do they just?
The name's escaping me. Let me look quick.
Malachi Starks.
Malachi Starks, yes.
Like
Safety,
how? Mike Green. Like, how do they end up with these guys?
Yeah, I don't know how he dropped, to be honest.
Who, Mike Green or Malachi?
Yeah.
Or both?
Well, yeah, both, but Mike Green had a bigger drop. Like, pick 59, like...
Well, I think people are kind of worried about his character, but, I mean, fuck. If he got to me at, what'd the Bengals pick, 17? I would have taken him.
Yeah. I mean,
better than what they have going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it as like this, like, everybody wants to talk character concerns, and then a team like an organization like the Ravens take him, and it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, he's probably fine.
Yeah. So let's transition into our last topic of the night, and then we'll get things wrapped up and close it out. So the Cincinnati Reds, both of us are Reds fans, so want to hit on them a little bit here. Been a tough past week for the Reds. Went into the Boston Red Sox series, got 2 or 3 taken from them there. From there, went into the Phillies, got only one of 3 there as well. So for the first few series, as they've kind of hit the home stretch here into the All-Star break, they played it was the Yankees, it was the Padres, it was the Red Sox, and then it was the Phillies. And I said if they can go 6-6 during that stretch, and then basically 5-2 against the Marlins and the Rockies, that would get them to, I think, about 7 games over 500 heading into the All-Star break. And I said I would be extremely happy with that. So from the Yankees, the Padres, the Red Sox, and the Phillies, they went 6-6 during that stretch, which was phenomenal. But they lost their last 2 series. They only took 1 of 3 in both the series. And then they come in with the Marlins coming into town. Kind of a bad spot to play the Marlins. Their record's not great, but they've been playing as good a ball as anybody in the National League. They come into Cincinnati, take the first 2 games, and luckily tonight the Reds found a way to win, or not found a way. They played well tonight the way it looked. I didn't really watch the game a whole lot except for the beginning. But they won 7-2, so good win for them. Abbott pitched really well, which shocker. He's been doing it all year. But I just think, like, this Reds team, like, you always just kind of feel like there's some missing pieces to it. They maybe don't have the firepower that you would like to see, or that a team that can ultimately get over the hump, get into the postseason, and make some noise and make some things happen. I always felt like they were kind of vulnerable for this to happen, where they hit a week where they just kind of win like 2 out of fucking, what would it be, 8 games. Like, I think that they're a very vulnerable team that 100% could do something like that because they're so young. I think they'll know they need a little bit more talent, especially on the offensive side of things. So I think, I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully they can bounce back and split the series against the Marlins. Getting a win tomorrow would be massive. And then if you can you have to take 2 out of 3 at minimum against the Rockies. They're fucking horrible. But if you can sweep them and then get back up to, what would that be? I don't know, probably 4 or 5 games over 500. I think that you're pretty happy about that as a Reds fan.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the standings, and I mean,
they're only 3.5 games back of a playoff spot today. But the thing was, 2 or 3 days ago, they were 1.5 games back.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, the thing is like the Central has, really rounded out as being pretty tough. Like the Cubs,
which I'm not surprised.
The Brewers are I thought the Brewers were further back than that, but only a game and a half back of the Cubs, and they're 13 games above 500. We're 1, so it's like there's a lot of work to do to try to get back to the top of the division. And then when you're comparing it to wild cards, the wild card race is pretty crazy,
pretty wild.
Well, I'd assume probably the AL, but I'm not paying as much attention over there. But there is how many? I guess the real question is going to end up being how many buyers do we think there's going to be? Because
I don't think there's going to be many.
Because there's not going to be sellers, or just because people aren't going to be.
I guess I said that wrong. I think there will be a lot of buyers, not many sellers, because there's a lot of teams that are still kind of in the mix. I forget. Yeah, I was listening to a baseball podcast a week or 2 ago, and they were talking about how there's just not going to be many options out there for teams to really make a deal at the deadline, because there's a lot of teams that are I think the AL is pretty similar. There's still a good amount of teams that feel like they're within striking distance. Again, all it takes is go on a week or 2 on a nice run, and shit, you're right there, right in the mix. So they were saying that there's not going to be many options out there.
Well, I was about to say, the AL is somehow more wide open than the NL. There's 6 teams within 4.5 games of the last wild card spot in the AL. So there's really only 3 teams that you could say are out of it. But one of those teams is the Orioles, which they've probably dug themselves too deep of a hole to come back from. But based on the talent on that team, if we, baseball is a very hot and cold game. If we came back in September and the Orioles were 5 games above 500 and they were, a half game out of the wild card, that wouldn't shock me. If I'm looking at their last 10, they're 6-4.
Yeah.
So it's they have a pretty good roster. And then comparing it to the NL, teams that may not be very good, but I don't think are going to sell, the Braves. They have been pretty bad this year, but what's a piece they would realistically sell? To me, they'd be a team that would blame this on Acuna didn't come back, early enough in the season. We're good overall. We've blown some games. I wouldn't expect them to be sellers. So there's, like you said, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of options to buy from. So
right, your options are in the NL, probably the Nationals, the Pirates, and the Rockies, and one of them's in your division. So they're not selling shit to you.
Yeah.
And then in
I
the
mean,
AL,
probably for the good old premium.
it's probably the White Sox and the A's. Everybody else is, they're not selling. So you're realistically looking at probably 5 teams. The A's, the White Sox, the Nationals, the Pirates, and the Rockies, and one of them's in your division, so they're not doing business with you.
And then that's not even like the second step of like normally a team that's going to sell is like, okay, this is a vet or this is an older guy that we're not planning on in our future. Like all those teams, like the player you'd probably be targeting is a guy who is probably in their future plans.
Right.
Like you look at the A's roster, all those dudes are young.
They're not
trading
doing shit.
any of those dudes away. White
And then,
Sox,
like, the White Sox and the Rockies just fucking suck. Like, you don't want any of their guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's always certain guys, but like, I mean, it's always about the bang for buck. Like, is it worth trading a haul for like a Louis Robert or Robert? I don't know. We'll get attacked for that one too. But like, I mean, he's been really good, but is it worth to
Well, even
throw
like
a
I
lot
don't.
at it for him? Like,
I think it's been a couple years since he's been very good, but I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him. Just don't give up anything really great in return. Like, you better win the deal if you get him. But I wouldn't mind seeing him being brought in just to. Sometimes a guy like he's hitting 185 this year with only 8 homers. Like, he's having a really bad year. But like, I'm looking at his stats right now. So, like, he hit 265 2 years ago, 285 3 years ago, 338 4 years ago. So, I mean, he had a stretch a few years there that he played a pretty good ball. But I don't know. Sometimes all guys need is a change of scenery, and he's been stuck in fucking hell in Chicago for 6 years of his season. Maybe changing the scenery up, giving him a little bit of a motivation or rejuvenate him a little bit. Maybe bringing him into Cincinnati. He can kind of put some things together and feels like he has a little bit something to play for because he probably has never really had anything to play for in Chicago. He had a few really good years of playing well, and it really didn't get him anywhere. And he's kind of just sitting there like, oh, here we go again. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I wouldn't mind taking a chance on the guy.
yeah, I mean, it's so funny that like the White Sox have went to this because I remember when the White Sox, like I'm flipping through their years, like the 2021 White Sox were 93-69, won the AL Central, and like this is dudes like Tim Anderson, Moncada, Jose Abreu, like a lot of like names, but the thing is it doesn't feel like they like made like after this there was a lot of like missed moves and because it's like, I mean, even when you're looking at the pitching staff, like Carlos Rodon, Dylan Cease, I mean Giolito, like I feel like they ended up selling a lot of those guys and sold them pretty cheap in comparison when like, so I guess that's probably part of it too, is like when to sell guys, when to sell high, because 1 year later they're finishing 500, and we're a lot of these guys are now gone and traded because they're building them back up.
I mean, like 2 years ago, Luis Robert, he hit 38 home runs and had 80 RBIs. So, like, if you get him at the, like, he's got 8 and 32 this year. If you can get, let's call it 12 home runs and, I don't know, 40 to 45 RBIs out of him in the second half of the year, like, I think you would, I know we're over the halfway point, but essentially saying, like, he's going to play better if you bring him in. Like, I would take that for sure. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's
I don't know how he is in the field, but like I'm sure he's not a liability.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying earlier about like the White Sox hell, I think that's been a little bit of what the issue with him has been. Like I feel like
he just doesn't fucking care right now.
because I feel like outfield's been something like an outfield bat. I feel like we talk about this every single year for the Reds, and he feels like he's been the guy who's fit that. And
Yeah.
now we've been talking about we need a right-handed bat. It's like, well, he's outfield and right hand. Like,
And can hit left-handed. He's right in his prime, age 27. He's had some good seasons before. And I'm looking at Baseball Savant right now. The best part of his game is fielding. And I feel like sometimes our outfielders aren't the best. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like, arm strength is an issue out there. I don't think it's so much more like going and getting balls, but he has a good arm. I know that for a fact. And, like, he's got an 84, like, fielding value, which is one of the best in baseball. So you're taking a chance on a guy who has proven to be good at the plate. He's had seasons of being really good at the plate and putting good power numbers, and you're getting a good defensive player. If you win that trade, what is stopping you from making it?
yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. It's what the price would end up being, but I mean, that clearly it's a good buy low on him time because I mean he's obviously been struggling like hell this year, but
Exactly. Now's the time that you go and get him. Not to mention, he brings you a ton of value on the bases, too. Like, he's one of the fastest players in baseball, has a 91 score value, sprint speed. And you know how much I love sprint speed, but still, it's just like a cherry on top to everything else is the reason why you should go get him. You're getting an immediate upgrade in defense. You're getting an improvement on the bases, or a guy that can run, not an improvement, just a guy that you can steal, you can have take bases in certain situations, and then you just hope that a change of scenery basically brings his bat back, which hitting 185, like 8 home runs, 32 RBIs, if you bring in a better glove for the faster player, more value on the bases, are you really losing out on much in the offensive like issues you had already this season?
yeah, I mean, no. And I'm also seeing, which, because I'm on Baseball Reference right now, it's like I think this literally just happened that he got reinstated from the 10-day DL or IL. So, I mean, there's even a potential where injury was at play. Not going to even act like I was paying attention to the Chicago White Sox in the year 2025, but I mean, he's an interesting guy and probably one of the few guys you could buy.
Yeah. I would not mind taking a chance on him at all. I think that there's a very low risk for, like, I think the reward outweighs the risk here. I really do think it does.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, if he sucks, then he sucks, and you're done. I mean, that just is what it is.
But he's not doing any worse than anybody else out there is right now.
I mean, even anecdotally, like, I mean, I know it's only a 7-game sample size, but he has something that no one really on the Reds has right now, and that's playoff experience. Because another thing I was going to bring up was this does feel like a year where the Reds could make I call it the Scott Rowland move. Like, I feel like a lot of those guys on the team were a little bit on the younger side. And then Scott Rowland kind of came in to be the vet. Like, I don't think that's Lewis Robert by any means, but, like, maybe it's like, I think sometimes just the clubhouse guy, like, kind of goes without, like, much, of the limelight, but it is a big guy to add, like, especially when you're in the long runnings of the season, like coming into a series like the Marlins like this, after they just went through the fucking ringer of Yankees, Padres, Red Sox, Phillies, like, those are 4 teams all above to pretty close to 500. And, like, then you're going to, then you're going back home from a road trip to face the Marlins, who are scrappy as hell. And, I mean, they're 42 and 48. I mean, they're no fucking slouch of a team. So it's like, but it's easier to look over them than, like, oh, the New York Yankees are in fucking town. Like, it's just not the same. Like, they don't have a judge, or, like, because stars, I think, play a role in that too. It's like, even if the team isn't, really playing that well. Like sometimes, there's a star on the team or whatever, it energizes you, but it just doesn't feel like that's the case right now for that.
I don't know if you've seen like the whole Zach Cozart versus Lance McAllister thing on Twitter at all.
I did see some of that today.
Yeah, so basically Lance McAllister's just been bitching that the Reds have a talent issue, and Zach Cozart is arguing that they don't have a talent issue. They're just really fucking young, and they don't have anybody in there to really show them like how to work through struggles, like how to get over humps, how to work through different things. And he's basically banging his head on the table saying they need to bring in veteran leadership to help these guys. They don't need to find new players. It's not a talent issue. It's a veteran leadership type of issue, which I kind of agree with him, especially just because it's like the guy's lived it. Like the dude literally used to play, and he's talked in depth about like having a older guy in the clubhouse. And I think he honestly brought up Scott Rowland too, just to your point. He's like, just to have a guy like that to like reference or to like bounce ideas off of, like it matters and happens so much. Like it matters so much and helps so much. He's like, and he's right. Like they really don't have anybody in the clubhouse who can do that today.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that leads to a lot of the inconsistency stuff that we've talked about. Like, and I mean, it's been talked about obviously on the Reds Twitter. Like, I mean, it's
and that's why I said I knew this team was kind of vulnerable to go back to a week of sucking dick. Like they're young,
Absolutely.
like it's bound to happen. That's
Yeah.
why, like,
And
2 years ago when they were really good, I mean, they were probably about what they are right now. I just think that nobody was expecting them to be good 2 years ago, so it was, like, more surprising. But they had Joey Votto in the clubhouse. Like, they had Jonathan India in the clubhouse. Like, both of those guys are well-documented leaders that a lot of the younger guys have talked about that have helped them through a lot of things. And I really do think that that'll help a lot to bring in some kind of veteran leadership. And on the other flip side, I think it would help a lot to bring back Hunter Green too. Like, I don't know what's going on with that guy, but it's kind of giving me some like CES vibes of last year, where it seems like it's not going to be this long or be that long until he's back, and it just keeps lingering. You got another setback, then you got another setback. So that situation's kind of starting to make me a little nervous, and if he doesn't come back soon, I mean, their season's done. Like, you have to have Hunter Green for the rest of this season and into the playoff race.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like Abbott, for how well he's pitched, he is not the Reds' best pitcher. I mean,
no, he's probably not even their second best pitcher. He's just been their best pitcher and their second best pitcher.
Right. Exactly. But it's like Hunter Green is, I mean, he has been everything that like he was drafted to be. It's just his health has not been kind to him in the past, and like this story has happened with Hunter Green before, and that's why it scares me, because it's better when Hunter Green's pitching, like, and the Reds have been weathering that storm for a little while now. Like having him pitch every fifth day is very helpful. Because whether it's even a win or a loss, like, that's how you're using less bullpen arms, because he's going 6.
Yeah.
So, like,
and it kind of sucks because it
kind
of sucks because it felt like this year he, like, kind of finally put it all together. Not finally, because he's still really young. But he's been up in the majors for a few years. He's had some really good flashes. He's had a little bit of struggles. But you felt like this was the year that he put it all together. Like, he was primed to go on a Cy Young type run.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like his trajectory, even though he's had all those injuries, has been like steadily improving.
Oh yeah, he's improved every year.
A lot at the beginning, but I think a lot of that was, I mean, we've seen with Burns a little bit. Like when people are able to know what's coming, they're major leaguers. They're going to be able to hit it whether you throw 100 or
right,
or throw a curveball that sinks 20 feet. Like. They're going to be able to hit it if they know it's coming. So it's like, I mean, like, when I look at the Reds, like Hunter Green is kind of the linchpin for the rotation. Like I feel like everything fits off him, and I mean, like it's like Ellie is that for the offense, and he's that for the pitching. Like
Yeah.
they are the linchpin for a reason. They are the stars, and it's like it's tough to not have Hunter. It's been great to see Abbott kind of step up and kind of take the place of that, but it's like
I don't think he's sustainable though. Like at the level he's pitched.
I don't either, and maybe that's part of what he's why he has stepped up is like someone's got to be the ace.
Yeah.
He's embraced that and become it. But it's like I would take Abbott at like a 3 ERA and have and have him playing. And
I think Andrew Abbott is a number 3 on a really, really good team, and then like a number 2 on a good team. And I will take Andrew Abbott on my team 10 out of 10 times. I think he's a gritty motherfucker. Like he battles his ass off as much as anybody that I've seen pitch. He's not flashy about how he goes about things. He clearly works his ass off, pitches in kind of like an older style, like mixes speeds, mixes locations, pitches the contact, just tries to not let guys barrel up off of him. So I would take him every day of the week. And kind of in some other Reds news, like him and Ellie getting in the All-Star game, like 100% totally deserve it. Like both of those two. They've been awesome this year, like you said, kind of like the linchpin Ellie's been, like the one bright spot. Not the one, but the most consistent bright spot for the offense. And then Abbott's probably been the most consistent bright spot for the pitching. I mean, the pitching's had a lot of bright spots, but he's probably been the best and the most consistent to this point. Including news in the All-Star game, Ellie declines an invite to the Home Run Derby. And as much as I would absolutely love to see him, it would be completely electric to watch him in the Home Run Derby. I like the decision of not doing it. I think a lot of guys screw up their swings for the first few weeks out of the All-Star break whenever they go in and do that. And then even to go a little bit further, I think it's just a testament to who Ellie is as a person. Like, he is a grade A person. He is all for the team. He does anything and everything that he can to be a great teammate. He does anything and everything that he can to be out there on it every single day basis. And I think that goes a little bit underappreciated from a lot of Reds fans. And he's not going to be around forever, probably only for a few more years. But enjoy it while he's here. Like, a lot of selfish guys would go and do that, screw up their swings for the first few weeks. But Ellie's more interested in winning games and doing what's best for him, or doing what's best for his teammates and for the season and everything going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I have loved Ellie basically since I had heard about him. I've been waiting for that call up for, what was it, about 2 years after, seeing him skyrocket, because this was back in the times where I was on Reds prospects more than I was on the Reds actual roster. And I still remember him jumping from like 50s, I think, to like, I don't know if it was number 1 in the top 100, but it was in the top 5, I think. And I was like, okay, I had just heard about you pretty recently, and now you're jumping like that. I'm like, all right, this dude, there's something about it. Like, as much as those top 100 things like don't really matter, I think when you see guys like skyrocket like that, it's almost better than a guy who's just like consistently won, because it's like, okay, something happened with this guy, and
something started to click for him.
Right. And like, and the thing is, I feel like that happens like while he's been playing too. Like, we've talked, like, in the first couple years, we talked so much about strikeouts and needing to take more walks and, doing things like that. And I think he's just continually improved in the aspects that I feel like us as fans have bitched about in the past. Like, and that's really all you can ask of your star players is like, because because especially in baseball, I feel like there's dudes that's like, I'm just gonna smash dingers. Like, that's just what I'm gonna do. As I think Ellie could, if he was just trying to hit home runs only. I think he'd probably have like 25 right now. But the thing is he's just, trying to make good contact and, get on base or, move runner, or maybe not necessarily move runners, just trying to bring them in still. But
things that are going to benefit the team more than just his numbers.
Yeah, and that's why I love the guy. I mean, I will say too, I feel like the Reds have been decent after the All-Star break. I think last year was a year that they weren't, but I think the 2 years prior, like the year before that, I know they went on an absolute tear. In I don't know if it was July, but definitely in August. And then the year before that, they were bad, but they had a great second half of the year. So I'm hoping that we're looking more towards years like that than us kind of sputtering out last year, which I think came a little bit with expectations and not reaching their goals and whatnot. But I think everything is there for the taking. I know we hate to talk like expected win-loss and run differential and stuff like that, but as I'm looking at this, their expected win-loss is the same as the Toronto Blue Jays. The Toronto Blue Jays are hotter than pizza right now, and they are 54-39. So I think sometimes it just comes down to when you're hot, you win some of those games that maybe you shouldn't have won.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you come back when you were dead to rights. And
then when you're cold, you lose 3 in a row, 1-0.
Exactly. So and like we've been talking about plenty, like I think with the young side of stuff, like you're more prone to go cold. So it's like I think that's why that's going to be important, and I think that's the big thing that I'm looking at for them to add, and I don't even know what that means, like in terms of like who they would actually acquire, but I think that's what they need to kind of be that clubhouse guy to kind of keep the young boys in line. And also like another thing, like I know it's a part of sports, but they've been hurt. Like Marte finally getting back. We're waiting on Green.
Hayes just came back.
Who just came back?
Hayes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hayes has been hurt like 3 times this year.
Yeah, he's probably one of their best players.
So it's like they have had the injury bug, and I mean everybody has injuries, so But at the end of the day, I'm not on the team. I'm a fan, so like injuries have played a role in and how they've like I feel like I've been happy with how the Reds have played this year. They've just left some things on the table.
Yeah, I agree.
Which makes me hopeful because I think they have the talent. I think I'm on the Cozart side of this. Like I think the talent is there. It's just, like anything in sports, like you just got to get it to click.
Yeah. I agree. I think that if you bring in some veterans that can come in and make some noise of their own and help some of these guys, I think it's going to ultimately be in the positive. The other side is you always hear that Tito, his teams have a typically really good second halves of the season where he kind of works through some things the first few months of the year and then basically gets things to where he wants it, kind of understands what works for him or what works for the team ultimately. I hear a lot of Guardians fans, I've seen that on X, and then like Metal, he's a Red Sox fan, so obviously he's well aware of Tito, and he said the same thing. So it's kind of been a common theme, I guess you could say, that surrounded Tito. So hopefully it's the truth. Hopefully it happens to this Reds team, and they can go and win like 60%, 65% of their games here, the post All-Star break. But I'm wanting it. I mean, just keep me engaged till football, please, and then please just get in the playoffs. Like I'm ready to see some Reds playoff baseball again. It's been way too long.
I know, man. Like I was like thinking to myself the other day, like I haven't like cared about baseball past like September in a long time.
Like I've watched, but I don't like care.
Yeah, I have never watched a game on Saturday past like September. September 10th.
once football starts, and that's what it is. I mean, I'll watch like the playoffs and shit throughout the week, but like you said, if it's on the weekend and there's football games on, I'm watching football.
Yep. So it's like, let's get the Reds in there, and then we'll have to pull out the third and fourth TVs or however many we need, but we'll make sure it gets done.
Yeah. Well, Norm, this has been a pretty good episode. First episode's complete. Feel like it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a blast. To me, it just felt like a phone call with a good pal. So,
I mean, that's basically what it is. You just throw some topics on a sheet and then just bullshit about it for a couple hours. It's honestly pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, if you ever want to come back on again, just let me know, and we can either have you on or you and I can do our own episode separate from Metal and I. I mean, we basically just try to get together like once a week. I mean, there's no like structure here. It's kind of just throw some topics into its show notes and let's get on and talk some shit about some stuff.
Sounds good, man. I'll definitely be hitting you up.
All right, appreciate everybody tuning in. Looks like we're getting close to 400 viewers on X. I think we're going to break our record from last week, so appreciate all the support. If you guys could like, subscribe, retweet, follow, download. Show's starting to kind of get some traction here a little bit. I think since we've been starting to go live on Twitter and whatnot, I think we're starting to get a little bit more traction than what we were getting the first few episodes, and kind of understand the more you do this, the more consistent you are, it's also going to grow as well. So appreciate the support, but please continue to support us as we go from here. Aside from that, we'll be back next week.